Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Hello, welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I am Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. Jensen, it is Thursday, March 28th. There's a lot to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. There's a lot going on. It is spring break, and so I'm not used to waking up this early anymore. I'm tired, Jensen. But I'm here. I'm here as always. I'm not rocking the American Nightmare logo all across myself like you are. Rocking Big Dick Bob Fish. That's the man right there. Look at you. Look at you. Look at you, huh? Look at you. Look at your hero. Mama Rhodes. Look at him. Look at him, Mama Rhodes. Look at him. Huh? Look at him.
Next week's guest is Sister Rhodes. Can't wait for you not to have the same energy you've been having on social media whenever Teal's here next week. With your memes and your tweets. I need to actually respond to your wife. She sent me a really nice message last night that I didn't see till like just a minute ago.
All right, I'll shoot here on air. So we went to this like gimmick yesterday. I don't know what you want to call it. It was an all-inclusive thing. They had like roller skating, bumper cars, rock climbing, like a arcade. It's really fun, really cool stuff.
Sick.
We were in line for the bumper cars, and my wife's wearing an Offspring shirt. But the lady at the bumper cars was like, oh, talking about wrestling. I don't know if she thought like the shirt was a wrestling shirt, but the lady was talking about wrestling. She's like, oh yeah, my wrestling's coming back. And my wife's like, oh, what kind of wrestling do you like? She's like, WWE's coming back for SummerSlam in Cleveland. I'm like, oh yeah, like, you know, I'm a wrestling fan as well. And then she's like, oh yeah, I went to the show when they were here last. I think they were at a house show in like February or something. Maybe it was like January. Anyway, she's like, I went to the house show. Like, I met Cody Rhodes. I got Cody Rhodes autograph at a meet and greet. She's like, I can't wait to be at SummerSlam. Just praising Cody Rhodes. So Cody's impact is being felt. Remember I told you was at some competition, kid was wearing that Cody Rhodes shirt. Cody Rhodes is over, man. I hate to say it, but he's over.
Yeah, man, he's incredibly over. I mean, if I was a kid, he'd be my hero. I'm 35 and he's my hero. Are you kidding me?
I was about to say, you're not a kid and he's your hero.
Yeah. So we're gonna definitely talk about the American Nightmare today, because some things happened on Monday night that, you know, The Rock's gonna be definitely getting his soon. But man, is the Attitude Era back, Jeremy? Oh my gosh.
I mean, The Rock's back.
I'm kidding. That's the meme, right? It's like the Attitude Era is back every time we see blood or anything edgy. But man, I don't know if you want to jump right into it, or if you have anything else you want to kind of circle around or talk about. Hey to everyone in the chat, by the way. I see Love Fro in here, thought it was in the weeds day, but then realized it was the Spotlight. So thank you for joining us this morning. What's up, Maggie? What's up, Kim? Good to see some familiar faces in the chat. What's up, Will? If y'all have super chats, we'll make sure to always, we'll read them. We'll put them up on the screen as always. D-Lo, what's up? Everyone, hope you're having a good morning. We got a good interview for y'all also at the end of this with Brayden Toon, who's the New South champion. I think you're going to really, really enjoy that interview. He's only 21 years old. I legitimately think he's like one of the next up, like one of the most talented guys out there. He's gonna rise the ranks super, super fast. He's already doing super, super well for himself. But yeah, Jeremy, is there anything else you want to talk about before we talk about The Rock and Cody? Because that's obviously the big thing today.
We can jump into The Rock bloodying up Cody.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
So Cody did some type of speech on Monday. No, does anyone really care what he said? He came out there and he spoke. Words were spoken. And then The Rock came out. Surprisingly, The Rock came out. Was not expecting, not expected, not advertised to be there. But The Rock came out. He didn't say anything. He whispered something to Cody. Detectives determined that he whispered, "Tonight I make you bleed." Jackie Redmond tried to interview Cody, tried to interview Rock. What'd you say to Cody? He said, "Go ask Cody." Interviewed Cody. What'd The Rock say to you? Said, "He gave me a promise that he can keep." And later in the night, he kept that promise. The Rock attacked Cody Rhodes backstage, beat him up in the backstage area, dumped a box of tools on him, kicked his ass outside, literally, in the rain, and then whooped him right next to the American Nightmare vodka bus, made him bleed, got his weight belt out, put his blood on the weight belt, showed it off to Mama Rhodes, said it didn't have to be like this, Mama Rhodes, but now this is the only way it can be. He said, "Look at you now," about 3 million times. And then that was the end of it. He didn't throw him off the balcony, coward. But The Rock completely beat up, destroyed Cody Rhodes, who did nothing but cry tears of blood.
Yeah. So first off, I'll say that this is the best professional wrestling I've ever seen in my life. It's happening right now in front of us. Like, I know I'm obviously heavily invested due to the whole Cody Rhodes thing, but like, even take that away. Like, you have this super rare opportunity with The Rock here where, like, I know the obvious thing to point out is like Rock Hogan, kind of like those type of vibes, like the two generations. And I saw someone put up the stat or something of like The Rock's actually, I think, 2 years older now than Hulk Hogan was when Hulk Hogan and The Rock wrestled. So like, it's like The Rock is in that spot now. For a second there, I thought he was gonna like run a truck into Cody, like how Hogan like ran that was like the ambulance or whatever into The Rock. It was goofy. Like, it wasn't, they shouldn't have, but I was like, they're going outside. Like, is he about to run him over or something? But the way this was shot was awesome. Out in the rain and everything, that added to it, I think. We never really see stuff like this in the WWE, especially with the blood and stuff. So, I mean, so first off, I'll say that, like, I think that from like a pro wrestling standpoint, especially for the WWE, who's been so PG for so long, like, this was really refreshing in a lot of ways. And it leads me to believe now that Cody is going to pin The Rock at WrestleMania night 1. I think Cody's winning both nights now. Going into this past Monday, I thought The Rock was going to win and give that belt to... Now, it's still possible, as long as Cody ends night 2 handing his mom the WWE Championship, which I also think, I don't know if he'll do it at WrestleMania, but I think pretty fast he'll unveil the old Winged Eagle Championship. I think he'll bring that back and just call it the WWE Championship. Like, I really think that's going to happen, especially because if people remember when Cody was the Intercontinental Champion, he brought back the old look with the white strap and everything. I think he'll do the same kind of thing for the world title. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, I think at the end of the night, Cody still wins the championship, but it led me to believe that, like, there's so much stuff at play and so many moving pieces, because you obviously want to do the Rock and Roman at some point, because that's been built for so long. But now you have the built-in also for Cody versus The Rock one-on-one, which is also going to be a huge one-on-one match whenever that happens. And you have The Rock, like, his heel turn and potential face turn kind of all at play. And like, what do you do and how do you actually play this now? Because after Monday, I don't think The Rock can just, like, 2 weeks from now just, like, helps Cody. Or, like, I mean, you can't go that far. Like, with The Rock did Monday and then just, like, become a hero, a good guy, a babyface or whatever, like, 2 weeks later, I feel like. Like, I feel like he's got to stay a heel for a while now and do a Cody versus Rock one-on-one match at some point, I feel like. So there's just a lot at play there. Do you have any additional thoughts on that before I continue to elaborate?
Yeah, I don't think there's any way Cody's pinning The Rock. I'm with Will on this. He says, no way, they're doing Bloodline rules. Yeah, they're doing Bloodline rules in that main event. Like, I'm sure you saw it going around. The Rock and Cena, or not The Rock, Austin and Cena on the truck. That was done on purpose. That was not so subtle type of thing. You can't do WWE Avengers if it's no interference and nobody at ringside. You got to have bloodline rules. So I think Cody's taking the L night one, and then more adversity, and then it's bloodline rules.
I think that's totally possible, and that's the scenario that I've been bringing up until this week is exactly that. But once again, just the way that Cody was beat down and bloodied. Then again, that just adds to the adversity. If we saw that happen Monday and then he still loses night one, and now everyone's like, damn, is Roman going to really beat him? And now the odds are even more stacked. But even with it being the thing about the whole bloodline rule stipulation is that regardless, I honestly think we're going to get that Avengers scenario, even if it was everyone's banned from ringside.
Yeah, but
Solo got banned from ringside in the middle of the match last year.
I know, and people didn't like that.
Right.
It completely neuters the stipulation for night one if you have Cody pin Rock and then everyone still interferes. It's what was the point of this night one match?
I agree, but at that point, night one's already over and they've already sold the tickets and we've already seen it. And that's it doesn't, you know what I mean?
But it's a bad faith thing to do. This is why people turned on WWE so long ago, is they would do stuff like this.
Yeah, but if Cody's Avengers fight them off and he wins at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to matter. If they interfered and Roman still won night two, people would be like, what was the point of all of that? But I think if Cody, regardless, Cody's winning, and that's what we need to keep our eyes on. Now, there's one other thing I need to bring up, and you'd probably know better than me, because I'm sure you've speculated or thought about this too, and people in the chat have as well. Okay, so we're going to have, obviously, and I brought this up for weeks also. I was I think that we could potentially see Hogan help. We could see Austin help. We could see all these Cena, all these former faces, the top baby faces in the company's history, all helping Cody. We could see maybe Jey Uso helping. We could see there's a lot of people, obviously Seth Rollins, there's a lot of people that could help Cody, Sami Zayn, people that the bloodline has wronged in the past. We can see old faces of the bloodline like Rikishi could show up and stuff like that. But the other thing is the new faces that I keep bringing up and that people keep kind of speculating on is that even if it was bloodline is banned from ringside, what stops Jacob Brazilla Fatu or Tama Tonga from interfering when they're not technically in the bloodline? You know what I mean? There's little loopholes here where even if they weren't allowed in the match, maybe somebody debuts, because when Solo debuted, he was, I'd known him from NXT Level Up, but most of the audience had no idea who he was. He interfered and he helped Roman beat Drew as a complete unknown to the main roster. I feel that could potentially happen with one of these other new bloodline members who aren't technically in the bloodline yet. Once again, the reason I bring all this up and the reason I'm going to ask you this, because you might legitimately know better than me, is there any chance MJF is actually done with AEW?
Oh, MJF. That was not where I thought you were going.
Dude, they're taking him off the page. They're not mentioning him.
He's been off the roster page. He was off the roster page after World's End. That's not new information.
Right, but I'm just saying, just hypothetically speaking, let's just say he actually is leaving AEW after all this. This would be the perfect time to debut MJF. If he came out and he was one of the people that helped stop one of these bloodline members for Cody, he'd get a massive pop because the entire WrestleMania crowd is going to know who he is. That isn't just a random WWE audience. That's people traveling in who are wrestling fans, and it's Philadelphia who are wrestling fans also. So I just want to throw that out there too. Imagine if it's although the whole coast is cleared, everyone's been fought off, and then
MJF turns on Cody and helps from.
Well, I think that could potentially happen too, or he would turn on him maybe not long after, because I prefer MJF as a heel actually. I'll go as far to say this: I don't like MJF as a babyface. I love him as a heel. I think he's the best heel in wrestling. I do not like him as a babyface, so he should be.
Well, I got. I don't know if it's bad news, good news, but get ready for babyface MJF in AEW whenever he decides to return.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. I just want to put out some more reckless speculation.
That's very reckless. I was not expecting that at all.
I'm just saying, man, like if there was ever a time for him to show up, it would be, and like everyone to know who he is. This is also where like the quote unquote forbidden door idea, and once again, this is even less likely of a scenario that I'm going to throw out, but like just imagine a world where like, because now WWE is actually like, doing some stuff with GCW. They've done some stuff with Noah. They've done some stuff with All Japan. Just imagine if Triple H and Tony Khan just struck some sort of deal that was like, I can cuss now. We're far enough into the show. It doesn't matter. I don't really need to actually. They're like, screw it. Like, okay, give us MJF for one night, just the massive pop to help Cody. Everyone knows their tie-in.
What,
then, dude?
What are you doing here,
dude? I just think that this would be my biggest concern with MJF, and this is AEW related. I'm really disappointed with where he's at in AEW. When he comes back,
he's not on TV.
Yeah, but he's not. But the Adam Cole shit is dead in the water already because that group sucks. Like no one's gonna it's not gonna go good. So he's gonna come back to the company as a top babyface against a heel that nobody cares about, against a group that sucks. And I think he's gonna have his thumb in his ass, going, "Why did I resign?" I want to see him in WWE. That's where I'm at.
Okay, fair, but why is WWE and AEW striking a one-night deal to use MJF? I don't know how that benefits anybody. I guess it helps AEW. What does WWE gain from this dude coming in for one night to help Cody Rhodes on the biggest show of the year? What does WWE get from that?
They'd have to do a talent swap also for something. Like for like a one night, something or other.
But WWE doesn't get any benefit. Hey, let's send AJ Styles to AEW to wrestle Bryan Danielson. That doesn't help WWE either.
Well, at this point,
none of this benefits WWE.
It doesn't benefit WWE to have Shayna Baszler go to Bloodsport.
It benefits because it makes it look like they're playing nice with GCW, because GCW is not a direct competitor. We talked about this last week. Like that's fine. That makes you're talking about MJF, using MJF, who would still be under AEW contract in the biggest show of the year. This is a good look for WWE. This is free promotion for AEW right here. Again, when Jordan Grace is in the Rumble and they mention TNA, it's fine because TNA ain't really a competitor.
Do you think
AEW is an actual competitor, and they're not doing it in the biggest show of the year? It's okay. Jordan Grace has a nice little 15-minute run in the Rumble.
I mean,
it's a 15-minute run in the Rumble compared to helping the person who is going to be the face of their company. Big difference.
I agree, it's a big difference. But there's
what is happening to you right now?
I'm just saying, there's still some similarities there. I'm just saying. Just want to throw it out.
There's no similarities, Jensen.
Do you think that, do you think Triple H honestly views AEW like a legitimate threat, like that they're gonna if AEW is gonna catch the type of momentum that the WWE is gonna go under? The WWE is so far ahead. They're such a massive conglomerate at this point. It doesn't matter if they help other companies at this point. It doesn't. Like for them to help AEW, I don't think that's that big of a deal, because it's not like AEW is going to overtake the WWE.
I don't think he thinks they're going to overtake the WWE at all. I do think he has a grudge against AEW for many reasons, and I do think he and a lot of other people are smart enough to realize, hey, this company has 3 national TV deals, 2 primetime TV spots. That's a big difference than TNA, who's on a network that had to purchase them to give them TV time, or GCW that is on an internet wrestling platform streaming online. It's a big difference. Triple H is not dumb when it comes to this. He's not just going to be like, yeah, let me have your former world champion come into the main event to help our biggest star now and have him win the title. And the closing shots is your guy standing tall with our guy. We're all united. Yay. What are we doing here?
How sure are we that MJF is still signed to AEW? Like, how sure are you?
I don't want to give a number because people will take it.
I know people were pretty confident that he re-signed before he came back and won the title, but I'm just saying, like,
look, I'll say this,
like his absence. Okay, good.
I'll say this: if MJF shows up at WrestleMania, and this is a huge if MJF shows up at WrestleMania, he's not signed to AEW.
Well, hey, I just want to throw some reckless speculation out your way, everyone this morning. So
it's fine, reckless speculating. The AEW and WWE working together for this moment is where you completely lost me.
Well, I know it's in a roundabout way, but they're going to have to work together in some way, shape, or form with Bloodsport. They have AEW talent and WWE talent on a GCW show. I'm not saying that this.
Yeah, but they're not facing each other. Shane is facing Masha.
I think that I know, but I'm just saying. I think that people. I think we're in an era of this where like really anything is possible. I legitimately believe that. So, I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. I don't know. I know that I sound absolutely crazy. Dude, I know it's incredibly unlikely. I even prefaced it and said it's super unlikely any of this happens, but I just want to throw it out there. The idea that I think MJF could be involved. Just want to throw it out there. Are you frozen or I can't. I think Jeremy's even frozen or has quit the show. Maggie says I didn't have Jensen turning heel on TK. Dude, I like Tony. I love Tony Khan. But I don't like the Adam Cole storyline. I don't like the Undisputed Kingdom. And MJF, that's his storyline. That's his longtime story. Like that's not good for him. Jeremy, I think you're back.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you heard the last.
I didn't hear what you said. I was trying to say I don't think it's possible that an AEW talent's going to help with WWE talent in the main event of WrestleMania.
I think that you saying that, I think that there's a 99.9% chance that you were correct about that. I'm just saying there's that 0.1% that I'm just saying anything's possible right now. Anything's possible.
No. It's not possible. You got a better shot of Dustin doing this. I would have maybe bought Dustin. That's maybe a 0.1% chance.
I think that's possible. I think that's possible. I could see actually Dustin. I could see that maybe happening.
That's not happening either. But if you threw that out there, I could at least be like, all right, maybe.
Chi-Town Spurs makes a good point. I didn't consider this. I'm going to put this on the screen. This is a good point. He says they didn't let Billy Gunn come for the DX reunion because WWE refused to mention he was an AEW employee. Was that the current regime? I think it might be. Was that like the Triple H ran, or was Vince still like?
Remember they do so many DX reunions. They've had AEW talent. Jericho and Danielson have sent in video messages and things like that. Like that's one thing. Again, some of this stuff, even a DX reunion was like, all right, sure, Billy Gunn's there. Maybe we're talking about the main event of the biggest show of the year. What are we talking about?
I mean, you guys obviously realize that I know that this is like insanely unlikely, right? Like that I don't think.
I don't know if you realize it right now, Jensen.
I'm just saying, if MJF shows up at WrestleMania, regardless, people are gonna be like, "Wait a second, Steven isn't."
If MJF shows up at WrestleMania, people are gonna be like, "Oh, I guess he's in WWE now. He's not. He's definitely not in AEW because he's not showing up under an AEW contract."
Let's get back on track. This was just like one random thing I was floating out there because I realized that MJF was like off the roster page and everything.
He's been off the roster page since World's End. That's where the Rumble speculation started. It's because he was off the roster page and didn't re-sign. What else do you have to say?
Okay, but I don't have anything else to say. I understand that it's a crazy take. I get that. We can get back on track though. Cody winning. I know where we go from here. Everyone in the chat hates me now because I had one crazy take. Doing the show for 2 years, doing the weekend for 5 years. We had one crazy take. I'm just saying.
This is the problem. This is the problem, Jensen. Is like when I troll, everyone knows that I'm just like trolling, and I set it up in a way that people get it.
Yeah.
You have gone past what I do somehow.
Yeah. Well, it's because I think that like people are speculating on whether MJF is staying in AEW or not. But most likely
Are
he
they
is.
speculating?
Yeah.
Maybe my timeline is curated better. I don't see any speculation about MJF. I see people freaking out that like, oh, they removed him from the roster because these are the same idiots that didn't realize this happened in January. So,
well, that's probably,
I
to
don't
be
know
fair,
what-
that's probably the problem that I've had is that like I'm seeing a lot of that like recently, and you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like kind of catching that hype of like, oh, he's off the roster. He's off the roster. I wasn't like paying attention pre-Royal Rumble. Like I didn't know that he was off the roster page already back then. I just recently I've been seeing a lot of it. So that's why it was in my mind.
Let me throw an actual name who could maybe help out Cody. Besides the usual Austin, Cena, Taker, Hogan, the WWE Mount Rushmore guys. Diamond Dallas Page. There's a name that could come out and help.
That makes perfect. Our finisher said Sparrow. That's a good one.
That was actually awesome.
No, DDP. DDP is absolutely possible. I think Brandy says Louis. Yeah, I could see that. Randy, maybe. I like how everyone's mentioning names that like are actually like likely to show up. Where's all the people saying MJF? But yeah, I think Diamond Dallas Page is probably a pretty safe bet. I was tweeting out some old, for people who don't know it, I've got some old VHS tapes of Cody wrestling in high school that I recently got a VHS player, and I've been playing these like old VHSs from like 20 years ago, and taking some videos, and I've uploaded some on Twitter, and DDP like quote tweeted a few of them and like reposted them and stuff on his social media because he was actually at some of those matches. Like DDP, his bond with Cody goes all the way back to Cody being in like middle school and high school for like his like amateur wrestling career and stuff. So I could definitely see DDP being involved. And wasn't he part of like the media recently? He was doing like
he was at Rumble Media.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for him.
All right, so The Rock bloodied up Cody. You think this is leading to Cody winning all 3 nights of WrestleMania and be the big conquering hero?
Listen, I still think the most likely scenario is that Cody gets beat night 1. We get Bloodline Rules night 2. MJF does not appear. And, but Cody wins the championship at the end of the night after the help of the super best friends. Okay. That's what I think will probably most likely happen.
Here's the better scenario, Jensen. Here's the better scenario. You ready? Okay. Cody loses night 1. The Rock can pin Cody. Roman can pin Cody. Roman can stack Cody and Seth. I don't really care. But you got to get to Bloodline Rules. I think Cody losing makes a lot of sense because the adversity and everything. Night 2, Bloodline comes out. Bring in Tama. Tango Loa's got a better chance of showing up than MJF because whatever. No one's going to really know.
Listen, if MJF's under AEW contract, he's not showing up at WrestleMania. I was just throwing up the crazy scenario like we've seen Jordan Grace in WWE.
You're properly roasted for bringing up this scenario.
Take it or leave it.
All the bloodline comes out, and then we get all the Avengers come out. Undertaker's there, Cena's there. Bring Hogan and the Walker out there. Austin comes out. John Moxley comes out. Here's where you can bring out MJF if you want.
There you go. John Moxley.
Shawn Michaels, bring him out. Bring out Triple H. Bring out, he's got a long history with Roman. Bring out Bret Hart. Bring out Kevin Nash. Every single person who's still alive, or, use AI, use a hologram who could form a world champion. Bring them all out to help Cody Rhodes, to give Cody Rhodes his big crowning achievement, to do the Avengers of the WWE to help Cody. And then Roman smashes them, stacks all these old asses, and pins all of them. Acknowledge our tribal chief. That's what should happen to close night 2 of WrestleMania.
Roman pins Cody and all of the legends all at one time.
Yep. All of them.
D Eddy in the chat said CGI Yokozuna and Ultimate Warrior. Dude, we're probably not that far away from like CGI and holograms like getting involved. We probably that's probably not that far off.
Give Austin, Hogan, the hologram of Bruno Sammartino. I don't care. Stacks them all.
Yeah,
Knowledge
definitely.
Tribal Chief.
That's about as unlikely as. Well, listen, I think that there's still a chance. I mean,
that's way more likely than MJF.
Listen, I think that there's still a chance Roman winds up winning. Like, I think that there is a possibility that Roman wins. Obviously, I don't want that to happen, and I felt like that Cody was definitely winning last year, but I'm still not like this is a lock. Because, I mean, the company obviously loves Roman. They've been rolling with him as the champion for this long. The management loves him. They could keep the belt on him for even longer and have him and The Rock later for the title and all this. Like, they could do that. It is possible. But I also think it's super clear that Cody is the guy. He is the top babyface. The fans are ready for it. You know. And to their credit, I've said it 1,000 times, but like last year, I was saying there's no way that they're going to get that. There's going to be a better opportunity for Cody to win the championship the last year at WrestleMania, based on just how hot that run was when he came back to the company and the build to WrestleMania, finishing the story and all that stuff. But to their credit, he is more over now than he was last year. So I have to give them credit for that. It was in a weird roundabout way. I don't think that was the plan. Obviously The Rock was going to derail that. It was going to be The Rock and Roman and all this stuff. Like, you know, that all wasn't a lock, but we're at where we're at now. And I think it's undeniable that, like, because the even bigger problem is, like, if not Cody, then who? Like, it makes no sense for anybody else to get this win on Roman. Who did you say?
Nobody. Roman.
Just nobody ever wins
forever.
Dude, if Roman beats Cody at WrestleMania this year, he needs to beat Bruno. Like, he needs to just hold it for the next like 3 or 4 years or whatever it is. Because if Cody can't get the job done this year, there's no point. Like, you have to just unless some other wrestler comes around in the next like year or something that somehow gets more over than Cody as the top babyface, which I just don't think's happening. You know, CM Punk's too big of a risk because of his age and his injuries. Drew McIntyre, they would have already pulled the trigger on that, I think, if they were going to do that. Like, I can't think of anyone else that they could potentially, like, Braun Breaker is like, that's like a pipe dream. Like, I mean, like, he might wind up being great in the WWE main roster, but like, you can't put your eggs in that basket now, I don't think, and say like, he's going to be the guy like a year or two from now. Like, it's going to be more than Cody. I just feel like you just can't, there's just no one. You know, there's no one. Gunther's been built really well. I'll give them credit, but that's a totally different thing. And he's a heel and stuff. And I just don't. It's a different thing. But I do like Gunther a lot. But you know what I mean? Like, can you think of anybody else that you could outside that? Maybe someone outside that. Maybe MJF. Maybe it's someone outside the WWE. But that's really because think about this. They had to do this with Cody. For years, they were like, we were all like, well, who's going to be the guy to beat Roman? Who's going to be the next big babyface? Who's going to be the next John Cena? And they were trying to make the next John Cena Roman Reigns. They were trying to make him the top good guy year after year after year, and it wasn't working. And lo and behold, they had to go outside of the WWE and get Cody back to get this guy. And he's not going to be the only one that they get and push heavily. That is well known. I mean, Jade's probably going to get a massive push eventually too. I mean, there's going to be other wrestlers that come from AEW that are going to get massively pushed in the WWE because of how well they did outside of the WWE and their potential star power. So, just want to throw out there, you know, like who else but Cody could this possibly be? You know.
Well, you got 2 more years or so to figure it out while Roman continues to hold the title. So you don't need to make a decision on who else but Cody now, and you got a few years to figure this out.
Yeah. Or
somebody will pop up in the next 2 to 3 years that can maybe defeat Roman.
See, and what people aren't even thinking about, I don't think. And there's some good names in the chat, by the way. Like Chi-Town Spurs mentioned Trick Williams. He's a little while away from that, but like I could see him being a future WWE champion. I could. I was saying that even back when he was just doing Level Up. And I bring up Level Up because I cover it for the Weekender. So I actually like pay attention to that show. We're actually talking a little Level Up on today's Spotlight. But I was saying that, like, I've always liked Carmelo Hayes because I was a fan of his as Christian Casanova pre-WWE. And I remember seeing the two of those guys together, and Trick was doing some matches on Level Up. And I was saying on the Weekender, like, you know, over a year ago or whatever, I was like, Carmelo is going to be good to go because, like, he's already good, and like he's just going to keep getting better, and he's going to keep getting more over. He's going to be fine. But what people need to really keep their eye on is Trick Williams, because he's got the size, he's got the charisma, he's got a lot of stuff to WWE, a lot of the intangibles that he can't really teach people, he already has, and he's going to put it together, and like he's gotten super over. So I think there are some names coming up, like Dom Mysterio, people like to meme on, but like he's fantastic. Like, he knows how to generate heat. There's a lot of people. WWE's in a really good shape with their roster right now. So I'll throw that out there. Like, I mean, they have a bright future, but what people aren't really even, I feel like, considering is everyone's like, it's like the whole finish the story thing with Cody. Like, when he wins the championship, this is it. And like the new scene has been anointed. But what that also means is we get something we haven't had in a long time as WWE fans. And that's a over babyface. I mean, like, Seth Rollins has done it to a pretty good degree. Like, I don't want to discredit Rollins' run, but like the title belt he has is like 1 year old. It's not the same. It's not the same as what Roman's holding. We haven't had like that. I just feel like Cody actually having the title and having like an actual run with the title, that's almost as exciting as him winning the title to me. Because it's like winning the title is the big moment, and that's going to be the coolest thing I've ever seen in wrestling. I can't wait to see him win the championship. But then it's like, now we get a Cody Rhodes title run, and like, how long is this going to last? And how many people is he going to elevate, you know, in that and stuff? And I just, you open up a whole new wave of possibilities with him as the champion, and the people that he can kind of rise up with him and help get more and more over with him as the champion. So, yeah. We got to keep an eye on too. We're not just getting a title win. We're going to get a title run. And like, how cool is that going to look? You know, we're not even thinking about that yet.
Maybe it only lasts like 2 minutes because Damian Priest cashes in on him. And
boy, oh boy, would that be disappointing. That would be such a bad idea. The only thing, the only good that could come out of that would be if Cody beats Roman, and then Damian cashes in, and then Cody beats him also. like almost like how the Big Show randomly came out after like that WrestleMania a couple years ago. Like, nobody, it was like a dark match or whatever.
Yeah, that was the true main event of WrestleMania in front of nobody.
Drew McIntyre versus Big Show, right? But yeah. So anyway, if y'all are still here that haven't left after the MJF take, I appreciate y'all for sticking around with the show. But you know, I just want the real thing I wanted to highlight with that is just the idea that anything is possible. I know things are super, super, super unlikely and probably will not happen, but just keep our minds open right now for crazy things happening.
Not keeping mind open for that. Chi-Town Spurs says Cody Rhodes, the hero to all children, peddling vodka.
Is he peddling vodka? Did I miss that?
I mean, he's there. They got a sponsorship deal with that vodka brand, and he's like the face of that.
Oh,
so
I didn't know if he was like starting his own, because I know he had like that Rebel Cigars thing with Kazarian. I don't think they do that anymore. At least they haven't promoted it in a long time. I mean, I got no problem with Cody. I mean, the thing with him is he appeals to a wide demographic, which is because like I think adults like myself, you know, I think a lot of people like him because he seems like he's like a funny dude. Like, you like see his interviews and stuff. Like, he's funny. He gets our generation. Like, he, you know, so I think he's relatable in a lot of ways to like my kind of generation of wrestling fans. So like, he's kind of the guy who, like, at least in my opinion, I think he's like a cool guy, right? And I think a lot of people like would agree with that. And then kids, they all like look up to him. So they're just, you have like a wide variety. Like, the guys think like the adults think he's cool. The kids look up to him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you can, the women love him. And, you know, it's like, he's a good guy. He stands for good morals. Like, it's, you know what you're getting with Cody as the face of your company. Like, you know, yeah, I know there's some other WWE stuff we want to talk about that's like somewhat like kind of related. You know, it's a world title thing that kind of makes it.
Real quickly, D'Lo Diggins says, not gonna lie, that walkout overhead shot they did with The Rock and Cody ruled. It was a great segment. They shot it very well. Everything worked, so that was good.
Dude, I thought the segment absolutely ruled. Like, I hate that this is happening to Cody. Like the whole, you know, I don't want to see him get beat up like that. But boy, oh boy, was this good for the storyline. I mean, once again, the way it was shot out in the rain with the different camera angles, it's like I know it sounds super corny, but it's like you're watching like a mini movie. Like, and that's the influence of what it is. It's the cinema thing. I mean, that's what The Rock really brings to, like, it feels like The Rock. It feels like, I mean, obviously The Rock is one of the biggest movie stars in the world, but it feels like he's really like implementing. I know this sounds really stupid because it's like we see this in wrestling all the time with heels, baby faces, storylines and stuff. But like when you're watching these Rock segments lately, it's way more like he's playing a movie character, if that makes sense. Like you're just watching like a real movie villain, and like even his Titantron and stuff behind him with like the lightning bolts and all that. Like it's the presentation, and I think it's working really, really, really well. I love this Rock heel turn. So, you know, what else can I really say? Gregory Snodgrass says Jensen knows something. I don't. I'm just recklessly speculating. I don't know anything.
Not take Jensen's word for MJF showing up at WrestleMania.
I love how this is the one thing that'll be like tied to me from this is like people being like, and disregard any take I've had about this, you know, for years, but it's like this one idea of like, well, this guy hasn't been seen or heard from at all, and like, is he in the company or not? And like, if he's gonna jump, like, this would be the time. But because also, dude, I didn't believe Cody was going to WWE. I didn't believe it at all until he showed up back in I mean, I was coming on shows like this, and I would be like, yeah, there's no way Cody's like leaving AEW. You're kidding me? These people. I mean, and Sean was the one reporting it. Even then, I was like, dude, I obviously I respect Sean and I believe his reports, and he bats 1,000. Like, so there's got to be some sort of fire to the smoke. But even then, I was like, dude, does Sean know what he's talking about? Like, I can't, like, I don't know about this, dude. Like, Cody going back, and then he did. I mean, who knows? So.
I know MJF's not showing up at WrestleMania.
He probably won't. It's a most 99.9999% chance he will not show up. I think that's a pretty. If I was a betting man, which I am, I would not bet on MJF being at WrestleMania. Okay.
I wonder what the odds are. You'd probably get good odds on it. I mean, it's a waste of money.
You probably want some good money. You throw like $10 on that. Throw out a flyer on that one.
All right, we got another WWE topic, but we got to play this bumper for it.
I'm old and I'm fucking tired, and I work with fucking children. I'm tired of wrestling these kids that think they know everything.
It's a classic. It is.
It's a great bumper.
So CM Punk came out on Raw. He was back in Chicago, the only place he shows up to work. And he started running down a bunch of people. And he was about to get to Drew McIntyre, but then McIntyre cut him off. McIntyre had a great line of, "You're straight edge. You don't do drugs. You don't do alcohol, but you spend all your time in rehab." I died at that line. It was so good. They went back and forth for a little bit. Punk tried to get Drew to say Vince McMahon's name, which Drew wisely just kind of stayed silent on that one. Seth came out, allegedly. He was there. He said he doesn't think about Punk at all. And then it was decided that Punk was going to be the guest commentator for Seth and Drew at WrestleMania. And then Seth laid out Drew. An amazing segment. What'd you make of all of this, Jensen?
This was a great segment, and I don't really pay attention to like the television ratings anymore, but I did see people saying stuff about how this apparently popped like a 2 something in the ratings, which like WWE like rarely does that anymore. And like a for one segment, like apparently the ratings shot up massively whenever this was going on. And obviously, you know, it's CM Punk in Chicago. Like there's always going to be interest in that. I get that. There was even CM Punk chants like during the Rock and Cody segment at points and stuff. But I mean, I'm not going to go in too hard on this, but like, yeah. So Drew, obviously y'all know if Cody Rhodes wasn't in the WWE, Drew McIntyre would be my favorite WWE superstar for sure. I love what Drew's doing. That line about not doing drugs and being straight edge and all that stuff, but spending all your time in rehab was a very clever line. I think he said a lot of stuff that was really funny. And CM Punk was smart and he was witty, and but the thing that's so funny about him is just like the constant hypocrisy, because like I know it's different to a degree, and they're out there kind of shooting on one another. Like it's not like CM Punk's out there just like Drew McIntyre is giving it back and Seth Rollins is giving it back, and these guys. So it's like it's all, but like for a guy who's so concerned about other people going into business for themselves when he's the victim of it, for you to go out there and put Drew on the spot and allude to Vince, like, he can't say anything back about that. Just like you didn't say anything back about the Colt Cabana stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so funny how like, it's okay for him to do this kind of stuff. It's okay for him to be a miserable asshole all the time. But like when other people do it to him, he'll literally fight you backstage over it. Like, that's so strange to me.
Well, you got to give him credit that he was willing to do this with Drew, who I don't think he wants to fight backstage.
He absolutely, I'll tell you what, I don't like the whole boxing with God line. Go ahead and just watch.
He's used that was literally the callback.
He used it with The Rock. I know.
Yeah.
And The Rock beat him. So that was a weird thing to bring up. But if you want to see what boxing with God looks like, find some clips of CM Punk's UFC run. If you want to see boxing with God. Boxing with God looks like throwing off-balance punches and getting taken down from like way far away. By guys who aren't even legitimate UFC fighters, who get brought in because they're so bad that like they can't match them up against any actual person on the UFC roster. That's what boxing with God actually looks like. Now, the other thing that CM Punk brought up that I thought was pretty interesting is he's out there talking about how he doesn't, pay attention to this show or that show or whatever. But, he makes sure to plug the experience in the drive-thru, which is like...
I'm not going to lie. I did not think, everyone told me afterwards, or I saw it online, like, oh, that's a Cornette reference. I didn't. So he's talking about like Roman being on McAfee's show, and he's like, oh, not a daily listener. Sorry, Pat. I'm listening to the experience in the drive-thru. I'm thinking, I don't listen to any Cornette, so I'm not even familiar with the names, clearly. I'm thinking that like, oh, those are local Chicago sports shows. Like those are daily Chicago sports radio shows. I didn't think at all this was a Jim Cornette reference. Apparently, it clearly was based on, I see it now. But in that moment when he said it, I didn't think anything of it. But I know a lot of people were upset about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting for a lot of reasons. I don't need to get into all of them, but it's interesting that that's the fights he wants to the battles he wants to have. But also, I thought it was funny. Like Drew McIntyre did an interview recently where I can't even remember who it was with, but they asked him something about like all his like trolling that he's doing recently and stuff. If he's like
Ringer, it was on Pete. Yeah.
Okay.
Or actually, it was Masked Man Show. Sorry, but yeah, I ran an article on it.
And I just think it was just funny how and I think this is the truth. It's like you're talking all this trash or whatever, basically. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like you're talking all this trash. Like, are you afraid of any like consequences, like, backstage or whatever? And I'm probably doing a bad job setting this up because I don't know how the question was asked. I just know the answer. And basically what Drew was saying was, I don't really care about like who, like, I'm not, who's going to come at me. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
So he was asked, have you gotten like any unintentional backlash for like your trolling and your comments and stuff? And Drew was like, no, he actually might've said like, yeah, it's like, and I'll have a conversation with people. And if I think they're right, okay, then, I'll own up to that. And if I think they're wrong, well, what are they going to do about it? Unless it's Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar. So that's the comment and the context.
Yeah, and that's essentially what I was getting at is like Drew, like unless you're Brock Lesnar, who most likely isn't going to be returning, or Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, anybody who thinks that like CM Punk would have a chance in a real fight against Drew McIntyre is so delusional. Like not just Punk, like pretty much anyone on that. Like Drew's a humongous human being who's super athletic. I mean, he's like a different type of creature than I am. Like if I stood next to that guy, I'd be like, this guy's not even human. Like, are you kidding me? Like, so I think it's pretty funny that like anyone would think that he would even be concerned about someone stepping to him.
I've said this many times. Like people know they're like everyone in WWE is like larger than life, literally. Drew McIntyre is on a different planet. Like I realized that during the feud with Roman Reigns, because Roman comes across as a massive human being, and Drew was dwarfing that man. Like, yeah, Drew is not from this world.
No, and that's where I think us as wrestling fans, I used to be guilty of it also. Like, I used to be a bit delusional as far as like, just because they're like good at pro wrestling and they're in really good shape and stuff like that, fantasy, I would say, let me put it this way. Before CM Punk's UFC run, I might have actually thought, based on like what I'd seen CM Punk do in a wrestling ring, he might have a chance. Because I might think like maybe he does know jiu-jitsu, maybe he is good at striking, maybe these spinning back fists and anaconda vices and stuff. Like he really, and then the other thing I wanted to bring up too is like we didn't even talk about it the other week. That clip went viral of Jon Moxley getting tapped with the leg choke and like that like beginners. And people were comparing that to CM Punk online, like a lot of people, and they were like, basically ripping Jon Moxley. Those two things are totally different, just so people know. Like what Jon Moxley is doing is like he like part-time trains with like Extreme Couture and stuff. Like he's just trying to like see if he's any good. Like he's doing it as like a personal challenge. CM Punk trained to be a professional mixed martial artist for the better part of a decade. And still to like right now, if he were to join a white belt jiu-jitsu tournament, he would get last place for sure. And that's after like, so it's a totally different thing that, it's really uncomparable, but I respect Moxley for like attempting it, but that's what it would look like for pretty much any pro wrestler in a white belt jiu-jitsu tournament. It would look like what happened to Moxley, because it's people who do this people who really train and like want to do this to compete versus people who just kind of dabble in it, which there's nothing wrong with that. So I just want to put that out there too. I saw a lot of people hating on Moxley over that, and I didn't have a problem with it at all. I don't even have a problem with CM Punk's UFC run. Like that's what it would look like for most. Like if you just pick someone from the WWE right now to jump into the UFC, most of them would look like that. But the problem is all the shit talk that CM Punk does when you know what it really looks like. That's my issue with him when it comes to that. There's also issues with him bringing up Cornette's podcast, and I'm not going to like elaborate on that. People can do their own research. There's people in the chat who are actually echoing things that I brought up to you privately. So like, I think that CM Punk is an absolute hypocrite when it comes to a lot of things, and I think that him essentially endorsing Jim Cornette's podcast just adds to that. But CM Punk fans can be CM Punk fans. They're going to ride or die with him no matter what. I just couldn't imagine supporting a guy so heavily who like just seems so miserable that I would just hate to be his coworker. Imagine if like you worked with somebody who got opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and it was never good enough. And they kept complaining, and like they're doing better than you. They're making more money than you. They're getting the push that you're not getting. And he just complains and complains and complains and fights people and complains. Like how that's just so annoying to me, but that's just me. T5 the Great says it's just wrestling, sir. That's true too. It is just wrestling. That's true.
And let's be clear. CM Punk, by all accounts, has not gotten into any fights in WWE. Everything's gone smoothly in WWE. Everybody's working well together in WWE. I understand there might be upset people of, Punk comes in and gets a spot and everything. Well, he got hurt, so he's not taking any spots right now. So by all accounts, things are fine with him in WWE. I understand what happened in AEW happened in AEW, but he hasn't brought over similar, what we'll say, I don't know, mentalities is the right word, but similar baggage. He hasn't brought that baggage over to WWE where he's getting in trouble backstage and stuff. It was, Booker T's making jokes about wanting to fight him.
I don't think he's going to in the WWE, by the way, for a lot of reasons.
Either. He's smart, smarter than that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna? I mean, he can't go back to AEW. He can't go back to the UFC. He's not going to work TNA. He's not going to work the indies. Like, this is the last run, you know? And why mess this up? Especially like you're old, you're injury prone. Like, it's not like you have the same kind of leverage you did before, but he does have the leverage from the sense of like, he still pushes a lot of merch. He's still like, I'll give him credit where it's due. I might not personally like a lot of things about him, but like he is good for the wrestling business in most ways. And I've admitted this 1,000 times. Like, I buy a lot of his merchandise still. I buy his action figures. I've bought t-shirts of his. I'm like an active like hater supporter, because even though there's a lot of things about him I dislike, I respect I respect his spot in wrestling's history of of pro wrestling. And I know he's not going to be around forever. And there is a part of me, I hate to admit this, because it really kills a lot of my gimmick here. I would actually love to meet CM Punk and shake his hand and actually experience him in real life, because I feel like I would have probably a different opinion of him if me and him actually sat down and not even like hash things out, but just like if I got his perspective on things and actually was just around him, not like pumped up on testosterone, not like ready to fight, not with like a bunch of shit on his mind that needs to get off his chest, just like the actual human being, Phil Brooks. I'd be really, because the reason I say that is because so many people that know him for real, like, are so loyal to him. So he's got to be a different person, and like the other, you know. And so I always want to keep that in mind too. One thing I do keep in mind with Punk in a positive way is the last time he was on an AEW show that I was at, he wrestled in Atlanta, and he did a collision match with it was like him, Sting, Darby, and Jungle Boy, I think, all did a tag team, like a 4-person tag team match. And after the show, Punk did the Cody Rhodes thing, where like he was the one, he talked to all the fans around the ringside, he got pictures with people. And one thing I noticed him doing is he was asking people how they were. And he seemed legitimately interested. Like, there was people with signs and people that were crying and couldn't believe they were meeting him. And he would ask them, like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Like, is your mental health good? Like, he was like asking like real questions to people, and it made it seem like he really cared. So for all the shit that I give CM Punk, because there's a lot of shit I give him, and I think a lot of it is justified, I think there is a person in there that I think I could relate to. I just don't get to see it very often, unfortunately.
All right. I'm going to let your CM Punk comments cook a little bit, because I was not expecting you to say nice things about CM Punk.
Well, because I mean, I don't like when he goes into business for himself. I don't like how he's a big hypocrite. I don't like a lot of things that he endorses and sponsors and stands for. I don't. Me and him disagree with a lot of things just about life in general, probably. But he does bring a lot of joy to a lot of wrestling fans. I mean, it's a weird thing. It just is. It's a weird thing. But, you know, I'm not happy the guy's hurt, like, for real. Like, I joke about that. I'm not happy the guy's hurt. It sucks that he came back to WWE and he has to miss WrestleMania. He's got to be on commentary. There's a lot of people who wanted to see him wrestle. I wanted to see him versus Seth Rollins. Although I do think Drew McIntyre versus Seth, I'd rather see Drew win the championship personally. But, like, you know, we were all robbed of a big WrestleMania match between Seth and CM Punk, you know. But yeah, anyway, that's a whole spectrum of my thoughts on CM Punk for today.
That's a lot. It's a lot to unpack there with CM Punk. Do you think he's gonna help Cody try to win the title?
I don't think so. I don't think he'll necessarily get involved in that. They're just in a weird spot with him, because even when he comes back, like, he's always going to get a push, but like, I feel like similar to AEW, you can't, like, even though he's carrying around like that title with the X on it at the end, I feel like you can't trust his body holding up as like the champion, but he needs to be involved in like dream matches or like big stories still. So it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously him and Drew is going to be the comeback feud, you know? And that's going to be awesome. So I just hope that Drew wins after all this, but I feel like Punk's going to have to like avenge all this. I don't know. And they got to build Punk to next year's WrestleMania. I think he'll have a big WrestleMania next year if he stays healthy.
Do you want to move on to AEW? Okay.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show. And I think it's been a run of great shows.
We got 2 new title contenders coming out of AEW Dynamite last night. Willow Nightingale won the 4-way, so she will face Julia Hart for the TBS title. And then Swerve Strickland beat Takeshita, and he is the number 1 contender for the world title. He'll face Samoa Joe. Both of those matches going down at Dynasty. Pretty expected results, I thought. I didn't think there was any doubt that Willow and Swerve were going to be the next challengers for these titles. But what do you make of, 1, the matches, and then 2, them winning and looking forward to Dynasty?
Both good matches. There was a brutal, was it a Death Valley driver that Willow did on the apron?
Yeah.
This guy, that was really nasty. I always get concerned when someone's head lands like outside of the apron, because like you could the whiplash. But everything was fine. I mean, Willow has gotten super over. She was really good on the indies too. Like she was really like one of the main faces like Beyond Wrestling for a while. And I think she's another one that like would be great in any company too. I love that she's in AEW, and I think she's doing great in AEW, but I think that one day maybe WWE or really anywhere. I think she fits in everywhere, and she's very infectious. Like her presence and her vibe and everything is very positive. And she's very good in the ring. She brings something different to the table. I like Willow a lot. So, I like where she's at. Do you think Julia retains?
No, I think Willow wins, and it sets up Mercedes and Willow. That's my guess.
That's probably the move. Do you think it's weird how they have Mercedes involved in this and not like the world title?
It's a little strange, but at the same time, she has the history with Willow, and the Toni Storm Mercedes stuff I don't feel plays all that well. Like they're kind of doing it with Deanna, and Deanna has the history with Toni. So I get that. I just don't know, like the balance between Toni and Mercedes, I don't think would be great. And it's tough to insert Mercedes into the feud that's already going on with Toni, Deanna, and now Thunder Rosa, where it was easier to put her into the stuff with Willow and Julia Hart.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with all of that. I think that her and Willow with their history, I think their match is going to be great. Chi-Town Spurs mentions they prefer this way with the TBS title, suits her more right now. I don't disagree with any of that. I thought it was a little strange, kind of with like the hype and how much money people are like reporting that she could be making and stuff like that. I know that's not all accurate, but like she obviously is making a lot of money with AEW. You'd figure she'd be like the centerpiece of like the main championship, but at the end of the day, if we get a good match and a title run with the TBS title. I
think the bigger concern is, I mean, last night, the commentary thing, she was just kind of like there. Like, I thought the presentation was really good the first week. I thought they knocked that out of the park. I didn't mind the previous week either, because she opened the show, kind of set up more stuff. Last night felt very afterthoughtish, just throwing her on commentary. And I need to see I guess you can't do promos every single week or anything, but I don't know if it's diminishing returns. I'm trying to think back of how they used Punk. Punk was very similar, obviously the big first dance, and then it was like promos, but then he at least set up the big match against Darby for the pay-per-view, and they started building that. Like they're definitely hinting strongly at the Willow match, but she's also just involved in kind of the peripheral with Willow, because Willow is focused on now Julia Hart and has that feud going on. I think that's the biggest issue kind of right now, is she feels like an outside part of all of this and not the centerpiece of all of this.
Yeah, I agree with all of that too. I forgot to mention this with the Punk and McIntyre stuff. He just reminded me bringing up Punk again for a second, but just want to throw this out there too, just as a reckless speculation, but much more likely than my earlier take. I think that I'm not going to ever live that down, because it's just so funny. It's about the stupid idea. I wasn't that serious, but I I think that I think that Drew's gonna beat Seth for the title at Mania, and then he's gonna do the Summer of Drew thing, like because he's like teasing that he hasn't re-signed. You know what I mean? And like that would lead to like him doing the whole Punk thing that like Punk didn't do really the right way or whatever. How they can. I think I just want to bring that up is like I could definitely see that happening. Like Drew like holding the title hostage like CM Punk did. Moving on with the AEW topics. I think that last night. Did you have anything left to say about Willow?
No, I think it was expected that she was going to win. I do think she's going to win the title. Yes.
Okay. I like that. I think that's a good. I'm with you. I'll go with her winning the title as well, and them doing her and Mercedes. And then Swerve beating Takeshita. Great match, as you'd expect out of these two. Takeshita, after losing this one and losing to Ospreay, all they got to do with him is have him win a bunch of matches now. Like the next 5 times we see him, just needs to be big wins. He'll be right back there in like the kind of the spot he's in now. I don't think people need to get too concerned about the losses because of who he lost to.
Well, he's not top 5 in the rankings, so I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, the rankings, right? But that's the only downside of a match like this, but it's also the upside of having a stacked roster in matches that people are interested in and having actual winners and losers of matches. They didn't BS their way out of this with some finish where like neither guy won or something. Like you got a clear winner, clear loser. That's wrestling. That's sports. That's life. So I like the match a lot. The only critique I'll have on this, and I don't know if people agree or if this is just too nitpicky, but I've never loved the setup to the Swerve Stomp because of how people have to like sit up and wait for it. Yeah. And I think like maybe like one time a match, like it's understandable. Like you can kind of set someone up in a way where like, oh, this coincidentally kind of happened to be in this spot. Like they had to have done that spot like 5 times last night. Or like Takeshita is like in a spot, sitting upright, looking straight at Swerve. And it's like, it just weird. It takes me out of it a little bit. It just, it's almost like the Del Rio stomp where like you'd be at the top rope and it's like people are like hanging there forever.
That's
just like,
sucked.
Huh?
That move sucked.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but I like Swerve, and I think when Swerve actually hits the double stomp, it looks really good. Like he hit the one on the apron where like, and it looked a little too good. I think he actually drop kicked Takeshita in the head, and then his head hit the back of the apron. Also, it was pretty brutal one, but yeah, I just want to throw that out there. That's the only nitpick I would have is like if you're gonna do that move, maybe like once a match you do that setup, but I don't want to see over and over and over again how like someone's sitting there like waiting for you to do their move. It just kind of takes me out of it a little. Outside of that, I think Swerve's the right guy to win. It's Swerve's time. Let me ask you this: do you think Swerve beats Samoa Joe?
I think so. I think that's the call. Love Samoa Joe as champion. Would have no real issue with Samoa Joe winning, but Swerve's the guy right now. He's the guy who's over with the crowd, and you got to capitalize on those moments when you have them. So I don't think they should go against that. Swerve and Ospreay building towards All In is certainly a possibility. I don't think Swerve is going to have a short reign. There's also a lot of guys who could step up and be the champion or feud for the title, like after Ospreay, or not after, like before Ospreay, heading into.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it's possible Swerve doesn't hold the title all the way to All In. Everyone seems to be, and I understand why, crowning Ospreay at All In. Like no matter what, Ospreay is going to win the title at All In. There's still a lot of time before All In. A lot of things can happen. There's a lot of guys who are kind of hot on the come up. I know MJF's going to WWE, but when he returns, he's gonna be kind of back in the title picture. I would think Adam Cole still has his goal of being in the title whenever he gets healthy, whenever that might be. I guess Wardlow is now cast aside here. I always think you can put the title on Danielson, but we'll see what happens.
That's always an option.
Other guys are going to catch fire between now and then. At least that's the hope, is they catch fire. Darby, I know he's out right now. That's a guy who I think could 100% be in the title picture when he does return. So there's going to be guys who are there. I don't know if Swerve holds it all the way to All In, but I do think he should win at Dynasty.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, the timing's right. Samoa Joe, I do like as the champion a lot, though. I'd like
I do
to
as
see
well.
Continue, but I mean, I've always liked Swerve too. I liked him as Kill Shot. You know, he's been at this a long time, and he's doing the best work of his career right now. And you know, I know he has a personal goal of being the first Black AEW champion, and that would be his opportunity to do that, which would be historic in itself. You know, so I'm all for Swerve being the champion of AEW. Got no problem at all with it. Last thing I'll say before we move on to the next topics is, you know, with the MJF stuff and all that, the whole thing with WWE that I brought up earlier, what is a real concern to me, though, in all honesty, is if and when he returns to AEW, this Adam Cole, Undisputed Kingdom, Wardlow stuff it just isn't good. And this is coming from a day one hardcore AEW fan. People listen to this show like today. I saw some comments. People are like, "You're turning on Tony Khan. You don't like AEW anymore?" No, I love AEW. I think AEW is you get the best. You get the most consistent, best wrestling, like in-ring wrestling shows of any company from AEW. Like there's things I like about all the companies. I think WWE's production and stuff, and just like the cinema of what they're doing right now is next level. I think if you tune into an AEW show, you have the best chance of seeing just like a card full of the best in-ring matches. I think if you tune into GCW, it's just a totally different environment. It's like an ECW feel, you know, more kind of DIY type feel. Like there's great things that I love about all these companies, but I'll also keep it real when it comes to stuff that I really don't like. And this Undisputed Kingdom thing. And that's my concern, is like, that's what MJF is coming back to, is like, you could be, and once again, he didn't know this if he re-signed before he won the championship, but like, it's like, dude, if you're MJF, you're sitting back there and there's no way he can't be thinking, I could be in the WWE right now involved in like this, or I'm coming back into this dead in the water story with Adam Cole. Like, I just don't see how that's going to benefit him at all coming back from that to that. So
I don't really care about MJF's feelings on this. I feel worse for Adam Cole because it was pretty clear that he was probably going to take that title at some point, and then the ankle injury happened. And so now I don't know if he may have missed his window. Like, honestly, they may have missed the window with Adam Cole, because one would think he would lose the feud to MJF now, because Adam Cole got the one up on him by taking the title and redding him for the last few months here. And I don't know if Adam Cole gets the momentum back. Certainly not this. And this is what I talk about, where like Ospreay's now been elevated. Everyone thinks Ospreay's taking the title at All In for good reason. You know, who comes after Ospreay? Adam Cole could be built back up again, but they had such a lightning in the bottle moment with him and MJF, and they capitalized on it at All In, having the story that they had at All In, and then the story coming out of All In, and the story that seemed to be where it was headed going into World's End. And then they had to kind of reverse course a little bit because Cole got hurt. That's a guy I actually feel bad for. MJF got his reign. He did everything he basically wanted to do with his reign. You know, yeah, he's coming back to something that isn't super hot, but it's not super hot kind of largely because of Cole's injury. If Cole doesn't get hurt, it's a much different looking program.
I completely agree, but it's on Tony Khan or whoever the people are that like are booking all of this to like, they had where we're at with it right now is not good. It's just that's my honest opinion. That doesn't mean all of AEW sucks. This is just one thing about AEW that I think they've massively fumbled. So we can move on though, but that's where my concerns are for MJF. I think he's coming back to a dead in the water story in AEW, or you could have a completely different new life in the WWE. But obviously that's the decision he can't make if he re-signed prior to winning the championship.
Real quickly, we'll go back to this WWE comment from Andy here, who sent a super chat. Mania builds on fire with several good stories on the Raw side. Haven't been this excited since nervous for a show in years. Confidence in us getting the win. Well, Jensen thinks that MJF is going to help Cody
Yeah,
Rhodes.
no, we'll take this. We'll forget that I ever said that. Okay, I just, but whenever he shows up, just people remember that I said it. But no, my confidence is super high, and that's another thing. I like that Cody is trying to make everyone feel like we're winning the championship together. You know, like I know obviously it's him, he's doing it, he'd be the champion, but like it's a real, are we gonna win this thing feeling? And like that, like the super chat said, and I think we're winning. I think we're winning the title at WrestleMania. Yes.
You're not part of the team, Jensen. You're not getting paid by the team.
I'm trying to remember what our other topics are, so I can make sure to. Let's do the other spotlight first with mine, if you don't mind, so I don't run out of time.
Okay.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
NXT Level Up, Uriah Connors, the former Brogan Finley, and Eddie Thorpe, the former Carl Fredericks, on NXT Level Up. If you've not seen this match, one, you should. Jensen, you've been a big proponent of Level Up because you have to review it every week for the weekend.
Yeah.
But you have always spoken highly of Level Up. But tell everybody about this match.
Yes, I wanted to talk a little bit about this because I may run out of time with my shoot job, y'all. I apologize. I got about 10 minutes. But I think that NXT Level Up is legitimately it's a good program if you're a fan of the WWE. It's super digestible. The show's like an hour long. And you get like a half hour of wrestling because they usually air like a long Raw segment or SmackDown segment or something. I watch the show on Hulu. That's where I think it's on Peacock as well. But like I just watched it on Hulu, and they have some real gems on that show. And even back, I kind of put that in 205 Live, that group it, because it really they rebranded it essentially. But like even when 205 Live was around, I was praising Ari Daivari and Tony Nese and Ari Sterling and Asher Hale and these kind of guys, like for having great matches on Level Up. When like if you go into that show with the right mindset and knowing that you're just watching for the most part, you're watching people who just need to get reps in front of real fans that don't. It's better than being locked away in the Performance Center back when you know, OVW and FCW around and stuff, and they would you'd someone to get signed and you wouldn't see them for years and stuff like that. This is a lot better than that, and they do a good job of most shows. They usually have three matches, and it's usually 3 matches of like a quick interview segment with someone who might be in one of the other matches of the show. So like most of the time you'll get like maybe 4, 5, 6 performers on the show that you've never seen before, or that you're only seeing on Level Up, or that you may have seen really briefly on NXT or whatever. And it's a real place for them to develop. Like Obafemi, for instance, like I was seeing him on Level Up, and all of a sudden he's like started to skyrocket and stuff like that. Like Solo Sikoa was a good example. I was seeing him on Level Up, and then like he shows up on WWE, and like I knew who he was. But then you also get a mix occasionally of people like Eddie Thorpe, like Uriah Connors. And for Uriah, it's cool because, as you mentioned, he's the son of Fit Finley. He's a 4th generation wrestler. And Eddy, previously being Carl Fredericks, he was in New Japan. We actually interviewed him almost like 2 years ago now, probably. Yeah. But I love this kind of stuff, and I feel like it needs to be spotlighted because they put on a really solid match, the two of them, and it's on a show that people don't really pay attention to. And it isn't just this one episode. It's like every episode that I watch, I always come out of that show feeling like I watched something that mattered at least to some degree, whether it's someone who I see and I'm like, oh, they're going to be a big deal. I'm glad I got to see them really early on. It's kind of this cool bridge too, because I'm such an indie wrestling fan that I kind of see the development right in front of my eyes of these people. And you see them develop their moveset, develop new gear, develop new gimmicks and all this stuff. And even just someone like Javier Bernal, Big Body Javi, like just total, he's progressed a ton. There's a Saul Ruka who does the Soul Snatcher, that crazy like imploding. Dante Leon does it on the Indies, but it's like that imploding cutter and stuff. Like, so I just wanted to throw that out there. Check out Eddie Thorpe versus Uriah Connors from NXT Level Up, and just check the show out. Like if you're not if you don't want to see people developing, if you want to only watch like AEW style wrestling, or like it might not be for you. But if you're like a WWE fan, or you just want to see something a little different and see people really grow, I actually legitimately think NXT Level Up has been a really good show for the whole time that it's been airing, and it's especially highlighted when you have matches like Eddie Thorpe versus Uriah Connors from this past week.
Yeah. Again, Uriah Connors, he'd been working the Largo Loop live events, and now he's on Level Up. I don't know how long he'll be on Level Up, but you mentioned Obafemi. He's done some interviews recently, and he faced his debut was against Dante Chen, and Dante Chen won. And then you saw Obafemi within a year progress from Level Up to winning the breakout tournament to now being the North American champion, and people have very high hopes for him. And I think you'll see that with Uriah Connors. Jared mentioning Lucky Ali having a good match against Tavian Heights from Level Up. So yeah, yep. Level Up is it's a show where you're going to see a lot of these indie or NIL athletes going to get their start and hopefully progress. We've also seen some people who have been on that show who kind of still remain on that show and have not gone too far. But do you want to talk quickly about Violence is Forever and the death match they were in?
Yes, that was technically an indie spotlight, I guess. But I'll just jump around because I know I'm short on time. Sorry, y'all, that I got this shoot job that I have to clock in for like on time and all. Yeah, VIF defended and retained their GCW tag team titles this weekend over Reed Bentley and John Wayne Murdoch in a death match. Match was totally brutal. The finish was I believe they were going to go for Chasing the Dragon because they actually started using a different version of the move where Q does like does more of like a straight, almost like a super kick instead of like the jumping kick for the Chasing the Dragon type combo that they do. But basically what happened in this one is there's a pane of glass set up on two chairs, and Garrini picks up Reed Bentley to go for the brain buster, and Bentley like kind of dead weights him. So Q grabs Bentley's legs and like throws his legs kind of with Garrini so that it's like an assisted brain buster from Garrini through the glass. Looked totally brutal. Blood everywhere, cuts everywhere. I mean, they were all sliced up. It was nasty. And then VIF, because they were psychopaths, they wrestled the next night and defended the titles again. So yeah, I obviously I love Dominic, Garrini, and Kevin Ku. They're like my favorite. I shouldn't say they're like they are my favorite tag team in the world. So I love seeing what they're doing, and I think they just surpassed, either tied or surpassed the most reigns, or sorry, the most title defenses for a GCW championship run. So like they don't have the most overall defenses total. I just assume that's probably Los Macizos because they've held the belt like 4 times. But in one title run, VIF now, I believe, holds the record for most defenses for GCW's tag belt. So congratulations to VIF. They were a team that for the longest time was like so closely associated with like IWTV and like the Southeast. And then they branched out more and more to these other companies around the country and around the world. But now like the timing was just perfect for them to be the GCW tag champs. And they're absolutely killing it.
The shots they posted on Twitter, like Garini's back, Kevin Ku's face, just everything.
Yeah. The next day when they were wrestling, Ku's head was taped up, and then the tape like fell off his head mid-match, and like his head was actually just like bleeding. Like, yeah, because he had gotten stitches like hours before. Yeah, these guys are crazy. But I love them. It's funny because they're such sweethearts. So
they are.
Yeah.
Kevin Ku, he's got this, I guess, tradition now where maybe it's been a long-standing one, but he started posting about it more. Like he has to have a Shirley Temple after every match, which I respect. I love it. So here he is taking a photo after this match, giant gash on his head, everything just with the Shirley Temple. It's like, bless you guys, absolutely bless you guys.
But, I love Shirley Temples. I love Shirley. That's my go-to drink to Dave and Buster's, as a matter of fact. Dave and Buster's, damn it. But. No, it's funny because those guys, they're like the most violent. I mean, Violence is Forever. They're like the most violent tag team. But like when you see their social media, it's them like going to Disney together. It's them like going to the movie theaters together. Like they're just like these nice, chill, just sweetheart human beings. But when that bell rings, dude, get out of the way.
They're great. We've had both guys on the show multiple times.
Yeah.
In fact, they're fantastic. I just don't know how they go out there, and different breed of people. Those two. All right, Jensen.
Was there another indie spotlight?
There was MLW War Chamber We were going to talk a little bit about that. If you had
What
any
was the other?
comments,
Was there another indie one that
I
I
don't
can
think
talk
we
about
had
quicker?
another indie spot.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk. Well, you guys are going to basically get an extended indie spotlight because Brayden Toon's going to be talking here in this.
I think that
interview.
was the thing is you wanted to spotlight Brayden Toon winning the title, but then we did a 45-minute interview with Brayden Toon, so we just kind of let that be.
How about NWA, says Matthew Underwood? Silas, Throwbilly Silas relinquished his title and he wants to come after EC3's world title. So that's the big news happening there.
Hey, we did an interview with Chris Masters on In the Weeds yesterday. He's no longer with NWA, but hey, we had some NWA talk on that show.
There you go. War Chamber, check it out. That's is it? I know it's this weekend, but which day is it?
Friday. It's tomorrow night.
Friday night. So that'll be on Triller TV Plus. So they have the actual War Chamber match. They've got Alex Kane versus Top Dollar. I don't have the card in front of me. The War Chamber match though should be really good. It was like
War Chamber match is WTF against Team Kojima.
Yes,
essentially. Let's see what else. Riddle is facing Kosuke Fujita on the show. I'll pull up the card, all of it.
I gotta bounce.
Okay,
I gotta bounce. Well, Jeremy's going to tell you guys all about War Chamber. I am looking forward to it. I cover MLW for the weekender, so if you want extended thoughts on my MLW opinions, which I enjoy the MLW show, so I don't, not so much the NWA most weeks, but I do cover that too. That's why I know about Throwbilly Silas and all that stuff. But yeah, so check that out. That's over on the Fightful Select Weekender podcast, FightfulSelect.com. That's every Sunday. It'll probably be this. It'll be this Sunday, and then the following Monday probably because I won't do the show on WrestleMania. By the way, everybody, I'm taking work off the day after WrestleMania. So good or bad. Good or bad, I'll either be celebrating or drowning my sorrows the day after WrestleMania. And I also took off work the Thursday after WrestleMania so we can do an episode of the Spotlight without my time constraints. So we're going to have a lot of thoughts on Cody Rhodes, whether he wins or loses and what happens at WrestleMania. I will not have to run out of here at 10. We got all day if we need it on Thursday to talk about WrestleMania in 2 weeks. Also, we'll have Wrestle Rumble is sponsoring the show again. So we'll have some Wrestle Rumble giveaways on next week's show. Follow me on X at FightTalk_. Enjoy this interview with Brayden Toon. I need to go clock in for work. Good seeing you, Jeremy. Good seeing the chat. And y'all have a great Thursday.
All right, guys. We appreciate it, Jensen. We'll catch you next week. Enjoy the shoot job. So War Chamber is Janai Kai against Unagi Sayaka. That'll be a really good match. Looking forward to that one. Riddle against Kosei Fujita, Mads Kruger in action, Alex Kane against AJ Francis, and Team MLW, which is Kojima, Akamura, Matthew Justice, and one called Manders against World Titan Federation, Tom Lawler, David Boy Smith Jr., Richard Holiday, Josh Bishop. That'll be fun. So it's a fun card tomorrow night on Triller, and then there's also the TV tapings. We talked to Timothy Thatcher and Akira on In the Weeds. So if you want more War Chamber coverage, you can go check out those interviews we did on In the Weeds. All right, let's get into this interview we did here with Brayden Toon. He is 21 years old. He's the New South World Champion. He's already had a lot of experience. He's wrestled in GCW, JCW. I know Jensen is very high on him, and for good reason. So a lot of fun stories with Brayden Toon. And once I pull it up, we will actually. All right, here we go. Brayden Toon in the Creator Spotlight.
Welcome to the Creator Spotlight here on the Spotlight on Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert, and our guest today is New South Champion, unkillable Brayden Toon. Brayden, thanks for joining us, man. How you been?
Good, you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. So I just want to jump right into it because you had a really, really big month. Really, when you think about it, because you technically won the New South Championship at the beginning of March. It just recently aired on IWTV, so it's like everyone in the know knew that you were the champion. But we were all waiting to see the Haas tournament and like the 2-night show and everything. So I was eagerly anticipating watching that TLC match between you and Hunter Drake. And not only how does it feel to become the New South Champion, but you have such history with Hunter, with the 999s. What's it like? Not only that you beat him for the title, but being the champion. Just in general.
Yeah. Being the New South Champion means a lot to me. New South is a place I always wanted to be when I started wrestling. It's a place I went to as a kid. I bought a ticket to go see my friends and family. So, being the New South champion, this is a big deal for me. Not only me, but my peers as well. So it's always cool. And beating Hunter Drake is even more. You just can't get no better than that because Hunter Drake is actually my best friend in the entire world. Me and Hunter Drake rode the roads together. Everything he said in his promos is true. He did get me on shows. So I'm very grateful for Hunter Drake. So, just having that story with him from start to finish is just something I could be more proud of what we created there.
Well, it all came off great because for people who might not know that need to get caught up on New South, there's been a long time story because the two of y'all, like you mentioned, he helped you get onto shows early in your career. Hunter, and the two of y'all being a tag team with Triple Nines, you winning the briefcase the same that he won the championship because you handed him your briefcase so he could pin Dylan McQueen right after Dylan McQueen had just won from Kenzie Page in that triple threat cage match. So this was all long-term build. And eventually we get to the point where, Hunter is surrounded by guys like Rico Gonzalez, the Heartbreak Killers, now the Heartbreak Carnies with Kerry Awful and Nick Iggy and Classic out there in his Nashville Sounds hat and everything. So it was really cool seeing the story play out. And I think the payoff was fantastic, the way that you beat Hunter for that championship.
Yeah, it couldn't have been no better than what we had. We had all the stories intertwined. Had Chris Crunk there, had Maxwell, the Carnies intertwined. So everything was just fireworks, in the TLC match. So it was just start to finish. It was all in there. So I'm very grateful for the match and how it played out. So it was awesome. Couldn't ask for a better match, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, I was going to go back to almost the beginning. So if you wanted to keep talking about everything with this match, then if you have a follow-up on that, go for it, Jensen.
Oh, yeah. So in the match itself, you mentioned Chris Crunk, who helped you overcome the odds because you had a lot of stacked against you. Now, something I noticed, I don't know if this was intentional or not, with wrestling, I feel like everything is at least somewhat methodical. At the end of that show, he was holding your arm up, you're celebrating, and you're holding the New South Championship up above your head. This is at the end of Haas Night 1. He seemed to kind of eye that championship a little bit, though. Do you think that Chris Crunk is coming after you?
I'd hope not. Like my whole career in New South, I've been backstabbed by everyone. And Chris Crunk, Kevin Ryan, my two boys. So I don't think so. But I've also a lot of people say the same thing, and I rewatched it, and I seen it. I asked him, he was like, "No, I didn't mean nothing about it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." But nothing against Chris Crunk, nothing against Kevin Ryan. But my guard has been up ever since I've been at New South. Ever since everything's happened. So I hope not. But if it happens, it'll happen eventually. Hopefully not. But
well, you never know with those people because we're talking, Chris Crunk, Kevin Ryan, obviously. Kevin Ryan also a part of the good hand in Action Wrestling. You've been doing more with Action. I'm going to get to that as well because I know you got a big match coming up for them too. So just your thoughts real quick. You said Kevin Ryan's your boy. He's a guy that I brought up on the show pretty often. He's if you know, if you follow Action Wrestling, you follow the Southeast, you've known Kevin Ryan for a while, but I feel like he's still super slept on. If you want to talk a little bit more about him.
Yeah, so Kevin Ryan was the first person I ever seen at an independent show do an acai moonsault outside the floor. I was 14 years old. I went to this place called Rocket City Wrestling, and he did it, and it blew my mind. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen live. And I went to the locker room because my dad was a worker, and I was like, dude, I have to meet Kevin Ryan. I have to meet him. And I met him, and Kevin Ryan was from then on out was one of my best friends. We texted, and he doesn't get the love he deserves, which is very, very weird to me because Kevin Ryan is definitely, I personally believe that he's one of the best in the Southeast. The way he moves, the way he talks, his persona in the ring about himself is just something that a lot of people don't have down here. So I feel like if Kevin Ryan just needs that one match to blow up, and I honestly think that Jay Lethal match he had at Forever Pro may be the match he needed.
I want to go back to again the beginning and how you got started. You're still young in the game, just starting out. But how did you get started in wrestling and training?
So my father was a pro wrestler. He went by Eddy Toon. So I kind of it was in my blood. I tell everyone, some people's families grow up to go to the army. Mine was just wrestling. All the men in my family wrestled. My dad, my uncle, my two brothers did. My mom was a manager for a while. So it was just kind of my whole family was just intertwined. I had my first pro wrestling match at the age of 9 years old. That's a wild story.
Go ahead and elaborate on that.
Okay, yeah, we can't skip over this. So
don't just glance past that. So, yeah, go ahead. 9 years old.
So my dad was the booker of this place. It's called APW, Athens Pro Wrestling. And I had this best friend named Brady Heatherly. And like before the show starts, all the kids would get in the ring, wrestle around, you know. Now looking back in hindsight, that probably wasn't a good thing to do because anyone could have got hurt. But we did it. Like all the kids did it, and my dad knew how like close we were. And he literally told my mom, he was like, I can't find no one to fill this spot. Take Brayden and Brady, go to the house, get their gear, and come back. And we had like these little like academy at the time. You used to have like these Century kick pads. It's like everyone had them, you know. And I had a pair, and he had a pair. So we just wrestled at 9 years old. I think he was 11, I was 9, and it was the most craziest time of my life. And that was my first ever pro wrestling match.
That's absolutely wild. I love that.
And I'm glad no one did get hurt. By the way, being 9 and you know trying to do all that. I'm glad no one got hurt. Okay, so we got that story. Oh, go ahead, Jensen.
And before, I want to know a little bit more about like your training and you actually getting into wrestling, because I know you had to have been a teenager because you're only like 21 now. And you've been wrestling for a handful of years professionally, like you know, consistently. What is your actual athletic background though? Because you're a very athletic guy, like deceivingly like when you first see Brayden Toon, I'm thinking power moves, and you do that too. Like the first time I saw you wrestle, you're doing like Death Valley drivers and sit out power bombs and stuff. And then I see you do like standing moonsaults and standing shooting star presses. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy can do everything. So like, what's your athletic background?
So I played football for a while. I played soccer, and I was the mascot for my high school team.
There it
is. I played football middle school, 9th grade. I quit playing football. I started wrestling. And so I really didn't have time to. But my English teacher asked me to be the mascot. And I was like, I love that. I just always thought being a mascot was cool. Even here recently, I was a Huntsville Havoc mascot too. So it's kind of like it got kind of paid off. So, you know, we'd always practice and do tumbles and stuff like that. So I think that's the reason why I can just do the sending moonsaults and stuff like that. So I think being a mascot and playing soccer and football definitely helped me, you know, master my craft today.
Do you reveal yourself as the mascot at all, or is this like a reveal right now? Because I felt like that was like I know in high school everyone's got to know that it's you, but like when you were doing it for like these other teams, did anybody know that you were doing this? Like that like might have potentially recognized you from wrestling?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. The Huntsville Havoc definitely not. It was such like so secretive. But definitely no, like not at all. No one knew.
That's funny. So you get into wrestling super young, your family, you know, it's in your blood. And then how do you really get like started on like a consistent basis? Because you had to have gotten started at like 15 or 16, like consistently.
Yeah, 15. So there was this place in Elkmont, Alabama, like 20 minutes from where I live now. My dad ran that too. And we would put the ring up on Mondays. We would train on Tuesdays, wrestle on Wednesdays. Thursday was the off day for me. And then Friday was Tullahoma at SWF. And then Saturday was Lewisburg. And Sunday was another off day. So it was just consistently, ever since I was 15, I've just been go. So very blessed for that.
Were there anyone else like that we would know of that would have been in like either training with you or at any of those like early like kind of shows and stuff that you were doing?
Carrie Awful was in Tullahoma. Luther X was also in Tullahoma. I don't really know. Okay. Luther X, Carrie Awful. Those are probably the only two. Toby Farley was in Tullahoma too. Tullahoma was a hotbed when I first started coming there. Tullahoma had so much talent. It was crazy. Caden Stage, Ryan Piles, all those people. So like Tennessee like mainstays were all in Tullahoma on Fridays.
I was about to say those are like Nashville guys and like Chattanooga guys you're mentioning, like Harry Awful, obviously with Crux Wrestling, like, and it's funny because like, you know, he was just involved in your TLC match just the other week. I mean, like, so it's by full circle. I know like a lot of these guys you have a long history with, like Hunter Drake, obviously the one that we've talked about a little bit before, but who else have you been around for a long time with? I think you have like a long history with Tyler Franks as well, who like Talladega Nights, former partner of Hunter Drake, of course. And like, there's kind of like a group of y'all, I feel like, that are like all in your early 20s that are all like ready to kind of break out right around the same time.
Yeah. T Franks was one. So Tyler and Hunter also wrestled EWA with me. Kevin Ryan, Let's see, Kevin Ryan, Hunter Drake, Todd Franks, Chris Crunk was one. Jade Newman also. I didn't start with Jade Newman, but he didn't come to EWA, but I started going to TWE very early on in my career. Gary Awful, Luther X as well. So those are really the ones I kind of like attached to. We all kind of like rode the roads together a lot. So
Luther X, KOBK. All right, good people,
Yep.
good people. Did you really start ramping up like around like because you had to deal with the pandemic and that I know slowed down everything down for everyone, but I feel like you really started like breaking out like kind of right as the pandemic was kind of like ending or like kind of it was like kind of like maybe like late 2020 or so is when I feel like you're really like all over my radar.
Yeah, so I was on the pre-shows of New South during the pandemic. That's how I got my start at New South was the pandemic. So I was on every pre-show in the pandemic. Go back, I was on every one of them. And then I started doing IWA as well on Thursdays. So yeah, definitely like near the end of the pandemic is when I started like getting out there more and people started seeing my work. So I think the New South and being on IWA TV definitely helped me get out a lot more than what I would have if I kept doing like the shows I was doing for sure.
I was gonna say, what was the pandemic like for you? Because I see, I mean, Cage Match clearly not super official because it does not have your match listed as a 9-year-old on here, but it does have you starting kind of in the middle of August of 2020 with the pandemic. So, what was the pandemic like when it comes to training? And then, I mean, you're just starting out as a wrestler, and here we go with nothing's really open. So, how did you kind of navigate things?
Very hard, very stressful, and very just like sad times, because a lot of my family, but I had 3 members pass away of COVID, unfortunately. So it was like going through that and trying to navigate the waters of wrestling was super hard. The only place I was wrestling consistently was New South. So it's just training wasn't really even a thing anymore. It kind of just quit. Like COVID killed that really. So only really in-ring time I had was on show days, and like that's it in my ring. That's it. So I had so the time I was in wrestling, and then the time before, that's all I had. So it's very, very hard.
How did you like outside of wrestling? Like, how did you kind of I don't want to say keep sane, but that might be the best way to phrase it is keep sane. Because I know for just about everybody, we're all going through this, and we all had different life struggles to go through. Like, so for you, what kind of just helped you besides wrestling? Like, kind of just helped you get through all of this?
Definitely just long bike rides. Bike rides. I live in like the middle of nowhere. Everyone clowns me for it. I just get Wi-Fi, so I lived in this house for 5 years. I just get Wi-Fi, so it is rough, but definitely long bike rides, walks with the fiance, and just a lot of watching TV. That's really it. That's really what kept me sane through everything. I definitely think I learned who I really was during the pandemic. How weird that sounds, but I definitely think I realized who I was during the pandemic because it was just me and my fiance. That's all I had. So
yeah,
you were like 18 at the time too, right? Give or take.
Yeah, 17, 18. Yep.
Oh my gosh,
that's wild. Well, I know you said that New South is where you were. I mean, you're still obviously heavily involved. You're the champion now, which is incredible. After all of this, but can you speak a little bit towards kind of like the leadership, the people behind the scenes in New South, guys like Dump Sanders, Brandon Williams, Cabana Man Dan, like maybe some people that may have like kind of mentored you a little bit in New South?
Yeah, definitely. Brandon Williams definitely helped me. So he came to EWA as well. EWA was like a major part in my career because if it didn't happen, I wouldn't have met a lot of people. And Brandon Williams is one of those people. Brandon Williams stuck his neck out for me so many times to get me a New South. So I can never thank Brendan enough. Dump Sanders, the owner, of New South. Kinsey Page is like definitely the backbone of New South. Hunter Drake as well. Carrie and Nick are definitely locker room leaders we all look up to because it's just Carrie, Nick, Iggy. Let's see. Donnie Promtom is another one. Donnie is one of the people who all look forward to of like, hey, Donnie, how can we make this different than what we're seeing everywhere else? And he'll just, somehow, some way, he'll pull something crazy out of the bag, and it would just blow all of us away. Carmen Michaels is another one. If it wasn't for Carmen, we wouldn't have, that nice production we have now. Chris Crunk, another locker room leader we have. So definitely, those are probably the locker room leaders and the people we all look up to, our peers and mentors, definitely, for sure.
Now, there's someone that you didn't mention that isn't necessarily affiliated with New South, but has worked at New South. And this is probably a good time to bring this guy up. So you're good friends with known menace Cole Radrick. So I know you have history with him. I saw your match from, I'm going to butcher the name off the top of my head. It was like the December 1st to remember.
Brayden Toon's 1st of December to remember.
Yes. Okay. I don't have it in front of me right now. I just remember this happening. So I remember you had this show. You were the main event of the show. It was you versus Cole Radrick in the main event. You have this great match. Commentary puts it over. I believe Carmen was on commentary for that as well. And he said, they're talking about like, this is the biggest one of your career. You guys had this great match. The crowd was super into it. And after the match, Cole said something to you in the ring between the two of y'all. I don't know if that's something you remember or if you can elaborate on what he may have said. But then he grabbed the microphone and really put you over. He said you were like one of the nicest human beings in wrestling, that you were really one of his good friends and that you just love pro wrestling, and you kind of echoed the same on the microphone afterwards. Can you just speak to Cole Radrick a little bit, and also maybe a little bit about, if you remember kind of what he said between the two of you guys in the ring that night?
Yeah, so the match happened, and he shook my hand, and he mainly just told me to believe in myself. I've never been a kid, never been a guy to believe in myself. And I think it's just the way I've looked. In high school and middle school, I always got clowned for being the bigger guy. And going bald, it's no hidden fact that I'm going thin up top. So definitely have a hard time believing in myself. So after the match, he just told me, he was like, you're really good. Just start believing in yourself and you'll get far. And that really meant like a lot to me because at that time I was going through a lot of things behind the scenes. So very, very hit home for me. But Cole is a guy who I loved watching. And I still do love watching. He's definitely one of my best friends. I just wrestled him again recently at the Huntsville Havoc show. And Cole was honestly one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. He'll do anything for you. And he just means well everything he does. And if it wasn't for him, also, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I couldn't thank him enough for, just sticking his neck out and just making sure I'm taken care of when I'm on the road. So
yeah,
I really appreciate it.
Cole's a great guy. We like to clown him on the show because he's kind of like a recurring.
Yeah, Jensen's asking nice questions about Cole. I was going to a much meaner way of when you say something mean about Cole Radrick and just bury him, because that's I like to unfortunately go that way of try to get people to bury each other on this show.
I don't think I can say anything bad about Cole. He's probably one of the few I can't say anything bad about. So.
Oh, even if you like him, I mean that's a declaration of love, saying something mean. Billy Starks has been on shows and she called him a man in a bikini. So Billy Starks will say mean things about a lot of people, but burying Cole is how you kind of express your love to him.
Yeah, just kill his self-esteem a little bit more. I'm sure he loves that. I'm sure Cole just.
Cole is the best. Cole's the absolute best.
He is. Cole's the man. And honestly, I honestly mean this. And this is putting Cole over maybe a little too much here, but getting the cosign from Cole Radrick means a lot in today's landscape of independent wrestling, in my opinion. And the reason being is because not only is he a mainstay at GCW and obviously one of the most over people there, and he's consistently booked at GCW, and GCW is the biggest indie in the world, and he's doing so great there. But he's worked every independent show you can think of. He continues to give back to the smaller independent shows. So he knows, he's been around everyone. And if he's out there saying, because I've seen him tweet about you too. He's like, man, Brayden Toon's next up. Brayden Toon's my boy. And I'm like, when I see Cole saying that, it really does mean a lot. So I do want to put him over. And I saw the match, the Huntsville Havoc clips as well, which is really cool. So no, I think that's, it does mean a big deal, I think, to be put over by Cole, even though we like to give him a hard time. So
yeah, means a lot.
We do love Cole on this show. I wanted to ask about taking on Adam Priest early in your career, and then you're going to be facing him again here in a couple days. So just taking on Adam Priest early, and then now how much you think that match might go a little bit differently here in a couple days?
Yeah, Adam Priest was my first big singles I had at New South. Honestly, he's my first big singles I had in my whole career, up until that day. So I think I was 15 when I wrestled Adam Priest the first time. Now I'm 16. Now I'm 21, and I'm wrestling Action Wrestling. I think it's gonna go a lot different. I'm definitely a different wrestler, different performer, and I think Adam Priest is different too. In every spectrum of his, So I think it'll be a really good match. Action Wrestling has presented me a lot of big matches recently, so I couldn't thank Matt enough. But I think Adam Priest is in for a treat for sure. I think he knows about the same 16-year-old it was, but we'll see. Time can tell. We'll find out Friday.
It's a battle of former New South champion and current New South champion. I definitely remember Adam Priest had a hell of a run at New South. So you must have caught him like kind of on his way out because he hasn't been there for a while. So you must have wrestled him kind of right as he was leaving.
Yeah, I did. I think I wrestled him at the JC Arena, and I think 2 months later he had his last match at the Hartsel. So yeah, I think I honestly was one of his last matches he had at New South.
You mentioned Action Wrestling, lining up some big matches for you. And I love Action Wrestling. It's actually, I don't get to make it out to the shows because of my work schedule, which should be changing soon, but they're pretty local to me in Tyrone, Georgia. And I've loved that company for a long time. Really good friends with John Mosley. He's been on the show a whole bunch. Mose, commentator. And I think that I think that Action Wrestling rather is a really great spot for you if you get there consistently. Are there other names like you have in mind that you want to wrestle at Action?
Shug. I want to wrestle Shug D. Alex Kane's another one. I think Shug and Alex are the two that I'm like wanting the most.
You're going after your boys. Those are all Kevin Ryan guys you're mentioning right now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
I like that a lot. What about, have you done anything with SCI yet in Chattanooga?
No, I have not. Yeah. Unfortunately. I know they hit me up to do the pep rally show, but I just couldn't. I had the TLC match that day. And I wanted to make sure everything went flawless. So I just, respectfully said I couldn't do it, but hopefully in the future I can, do one for the team for sure. So.
Oh yeah, you'd fit right in there with all like the TWE people and stuff like that. It's all so like, yeah. What I hate for you is that you missed Southern Underground Pro. Like they haven't run in so long, but you would have been so great in the basement east there in Nashville. Oh my gosh, man, that would have been, you would feel like a glove in that setting with that roster that they had. Hopefully Kevin Q can bring that back soon. They had this whole thing with like Live Nation, like is making it harder for people to book these venues they used to be able to book, and they're just not able to run these shows, unfortunately. But I want to definitely see more of you in like just Chattanooga, Nashville, Atlanta. Like we got to see you recently, in GCW, JCW. What's the experience been like wrestling for Brett Lauderdale and those companies?
Super, super awesome. That's the best way to describe it. I'm very grateful for the opportunities I've been presented with for them. I wrestled Tony Deppen. That is crazy. I didn't know I was even wrestling Tony Deppen until they put it on Twitter. So that was a very cool thing to see, but also a very nerve-wracking thing to see because that's Tony Deppen. I grew up watching him. I wrestled Jordan Oliver for the JC title last year. So that's super cool as well. I just, I can't thank Brett enough or GCW enough for the opportunities he's given me. Because I'm just a kid from Athens, I never thought I'd be doing the things I'm doing now. So I just, I'm just more grateful than anything, So I'm very, very fortunate for the opportunities for sure.
I want to ask, I saw this come across the timeline. I'm a big hockey fan. So you guys did something with Huntsville Havoc, and I want to know what that experience was like and how that all came together.
Super cool. I don't know how it came together really, because I'm really not in in that kind of department of New South. But I do know I think Carmen had a big part in that because he used to work at the Von Braun Center. So I was very busy that day, so I wrestled Cole Radrick, and then I literally went down to the locker room. Everyone was waiting on me because we went overtime. Well, just a little bit overtime, and then we had to go drop the puck, and then from the puck I had to go back to the locker room, grab a shower super fast, then had to go put a mascot on, then had to go put Marcus Dillon through a table, and then had to go back up to the balcony, do this big, like, long scene of things. And it was just a lot of things in one day, and I was beat the next day. But super cool publicity for New South and for myself as well. Huntsville Havoc was very cool with everything. They got, like, all the clips up very easy. They like based, the whole like theme around us. Like we was in like their opening package and stuff like that. So it was just super cool, like super, like honestly surreal. Cause I used to go there and watch WWE. So it was like super cool to like be there and like, just see like, dang, like this is cool, very cool.
Yeah, it looked very well put together. I saw a lot of players were arriving in like wrestling shirts and everything. And they really got into the overall theme of everything. And I love when, really any hockey team does this, but the minor league teams really get into it and welcoming different stuff in. So that was something really cool to see. And I did see you tweet like, the frame on that mascot looked familiar. Putting them through the table there. So you confirm that you were the mascot on that double choke slam there.
Yep, that was Ruckus. Yeah, that was me. Yep.
I wanted to just follow up on something you mentioned about your GCW appearances so far. Similar to the Cole Radrick co-sign that I mentioned earlier. I say this all the time. I do a show on Fightful Select called The Weekender, and I cover indie wrestling. I've been doing it for 5 years here at Fightful, and I'm always bringing this up. If you get brought into GCW and they put you in the ring with Tony Deppen, it's a litmus test. They're testing you, because if you can't have a good match with Tony Deppen, they're not gonna, like, you shouldn't be on the show, is how I feel about it. So like when I saw that you were having a match with him, I was like, this is the moment. Like either this is the sink or swim. He's gonna either knock out of the park with Tony, and if it doesn't go good, he's not gonna get brought back. It's pretty simple, because like if you can't have a good match with Tony Deppen, it's not his fault. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to bring that up. And then also it's similar to the question I had about action wrestling. Like, who are some more names that you want to wrestle in GCW or JCW that you haven't had a chance to yet? Because the roster is always changing, but you got your regulars as well.
Definitely in JCW is Griffin McCoy. Griffin McCoy is one of the ones I definitely want that one-on-one with. Charlie Tiger's another one. Probably Blake Christian again. I wrestled Blake Christian when I was 16. So I think now it will be another one of those matches where it's like we're just two totally different wrestlers. So I feel like it'd be a lot better. Let's see. Effie, I want to wrestle Effie. Oh, Mance Warner, I want to wrestle Mance as well. Let's see. Masha, I love to wrestle Masha as well. And probably Syncope and Miata one more time. Those two are like the most nicest, but also scariest people I've ever met in my life. But I love wrestling them, love being in the ring with them. I always learn something new when I'm in the ring with them. So, yeah.
I forgot to bring this up earlier, but definitely needs to be mentioned. The night after you won the championship at New South in Haas Tournament Night 1, you did defend your title on Night 2 right away against Fuego del Sol. What was that experience like? Because I think he's had some bangers lately, and one of them was against you.
Yeah, really good. Fuego was the guy who me and my brothers watched. He had the backyard promotion, and so it was just super cool. My brother doesn't come to wrestling shows anymore, but he made sure to come to that one. So that was super cool. My family was there front row to watch the match. Fuego was just one of those guys who taught me a lot, not only about wrestling, but about myself. Just like Cole, he told me a lot of things that, I needed to hear, but in a good way. Things that I can take, from now and, just elevate myself as, the years come on. So yeah, Fuego is one of those guys who I want to wrestle again. Definitely want to mix it up, down the road again. Just super nice, super down to earth. And his pacing in the ring is unbelievable. I thought it's Fuego. I'm going to get blown up. Not really. And I was like, this is awesome. I love Fuego. So thank you, Fuego, if you're watching this. So thank you for that. Took care of me.
Being in those locker rooms, like the GCW locker room, any advice you've gotten from maybe some of the more veteran people? I know Cardona's in the locker room a lot. Joey Janela is there. Any of the veterans getting you?
Nick Gage, Nick Gage?
Any Nick Gage hype speeches that you've heard?
Yeah, the last time I was there, when I did the scramble, I was talking to Nick Gage, and I always make sure I just say hi to everyone. And he was just telling me, he was like, I want this more than anyone. I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, you went out there and killed it. And he was like, he just stopped. He looked at me. He's like, you're slimming up a little bit, kid. And I was like, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Because in the Huntsville show, when we did Huntsville versus New South, or GCW versus New South, my bad, he was just saying, you're a big guy. You just keep getting in shape, And I was like, okay. And I took that to heart, really. And I was like, all right, I'm going to keep getting in shape. If Nick Gage is taking the time out of his day to tell me, hey, get in shape. I did. And I'm not in the shape I want to be yet, but I'm working there. And, so him to tell me, hey, slim up a little bit. And I was like, good to hear. So, I always try to make sure I talk to Nick Gage. He always hypes me up in a good way. So he's definitely a good person for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love that picture I saw of. I want to actually let people know they ran a really great video package before your match with Hunter Drake for the TLC match, like with your history, and then they had a really cool intro for Hunter as well, with like his history in the company heading into that match and everything. And there was a picture of you and Hunter where he's doing like this. Like, y'all, how young were you in that picture?
I think it was 15. Yeah, because I had the orange sleeve going. I was 15. Yeah, that was my first. Yeah, I was 15. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. I was like, that is Brayden. Wow, he looks so young in that picture. And so does Hunter, because he got like the short hair and everything. Like y'all look like little babies out there. And I'm like, it's just so cool that like all these years later that like wrestling for a championship. You mentioned Kenzie Page earlier as well. If you want to speak on her a little bit, because I think she's doing great stuff at the NWA. Yeah, she's actually the highlight of that whole company, in my opinion.
100%. Kenzie is one of those people as well who I got to know very early on in my career. She takes very good care of me every time we're around each other. She makes sure to watch everyone's matches and gives everyone very good critiques on their matches. Hey, like, here's what you could do better. Don't do this again necessarily, but if you want to do this, then here's how you can make it better. So Kenzie Page is one of those people, and she'll like shoot you straight too. Like she does it. She'll make sure she doesn't beat around the bush, but she'll tell you what you need to hear in a good way. So she's definitely one of those people who are like very down to earth, and I couldn't thank her enough for everything she's done for me in my career as well. So.
You mentioned a couple of people that you wanted to wrestle, including Masha Slamovich, and so I immediately just think like any interest in sort of the deathmatch style of wrestling.
Yeah, I think I have one in me. I want to do one to try it out. I've never been a guy who's like, nah, I'm not going to do it. I always tell myself I'll do one. If I don't like it, that's okay. At least I can say I never tried it. And I feel like I'm young enough where, I can do it. And if God forbid, I get severely hurt, I have time to, to heal properly. Waiting until I'm 50 or 60, I'm going to do a death match, and I get hurt and I don't have time to heal. But I feel like, being young, I can definitely do it and see if I like it. But I feel like I'm going to like it. I really think I'm going to like it. And but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think I have one coming up kind of soon. So hopefully it happens.
Ooh, can you give us any hints on that? On like opponent or company this might be happening in? Okay, if you can. I don't want you to get it.
No, they ran in Nashville. They'll be running in Nashville on May 3rd. So hopefully right there.
Is that the KOBK show?
Yeah, I'm not wrestling that day, but I think that's the company we're going for.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I know. Okay. I don't want to. I don't want to get you in any trouble here, but I
Jensen's gonna hit up Moe's right after this. Like, who's Brayden wrestling in this death match?
No ring. Let's go. Yeah, they're running no ring. So, but yeah. Oh, so you brought up Moe's. We talked about Moe's a little bit. He's a great guy. We don't need to put him over too much more on the show. We talked about.
Yeah, we could bury him too. Let's just bury Moe's, bury Cole, bury all these guys.
Well, I wanted you to put over someone who's a very, very, very nice guy. And I know he actually watches the show, so we'll actually see this. You mentioned Carmen Michael. He's like all over the place now. It feels like I just remember him like getting his. Actually, people might not even remember this because it was years ago. But for a while, the New South commentary team was Moe's and Carmen. It was the two of those guys. And then Moe's wound up leaving. Carmen kind of took over like the lead spot. And I think since then, he has knocked it out of the park, whether it's on commentary, ring announcing, behind the scenes stuff, graphics. I mean, he does everything. Can you speak a little bit to him? Because I know he'll see this.
Yeah, the Carmen is a one-man band. That man He is go, go, go. You know, wrestlers will get there. We'll take our time. You know, we'll get dressed. We'll work out a little bit, have our headphones on, chilling. Carmen? No. From the time he walks to the door, he is go, 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 go. Like, it is the most craziest thing. And he is the most, like, nicest, down to earth. He'll take time to even talk to you. And I'm like, dude, how do you have time for this? I don't have time to get gear on, you know, to like go outside and talk to the fans. But you're setting up a projector. You're writing down commentary notes. You're giving people advice to their matches. I don't understand how you're doing. You're getting music ready for people. And then people don't even come in with music or a video. And he, like, makes one on the fly. And I'm like, this guy's just a different animal. He is a different breed. But Carmen, I feel like, is one of those guys who wants it more than the next person. So I think, you know, I think it shows. And I think Carmen is going to get there one day. I honestly think Carmen is one of the ones that are going to break out and, like, get signed one day.
Is he taking bumps yet? Because he's in, like, really good shape.
Yeah, I know he had a match against Donnie at Anniversary. So I think that was the only match he ever had.
Okay. I kind of, like, hit him up not too long ago in, like, a comment on Twitter or something. I was just like, because I saw, like, I've been watching his, like, weight loss journey, and I was like, dude, you taking bumps yet? And he kind of gave me, like, the eyes emoji, like, maybe, you know, and I was like, this dude, I feel like he's gonna get in the ring soon. He's getting in damn good shape. So yeah. interested to see how that goes. Because yeah, I mean, it's pretty rare we see, like, someone kind of go from commentary, ring announcing into the ring. Like, we see it a little bit with like Shiny Shoes does it as Cody Manhorn, like, kind of the back and forth between, like, the two lives kind of. But yeah, I do want to see if Carmen's interested. I would like to see how he looks in the ring. And then also, you keep mentioning Donnie Primetime, and he's someone. If he sees this, he's on my list of people to get on the show. He's been on the list for a very long time. We have circled around probably everybody he knows, and I feel bad about it because we've interviewed probably every one of his friends at this point, and I haven't had him on yet. But I remember him back before he was Donnie Janela, and then I remember the whole Donnie Janela thing and, like, what he's doing now. And every time we interview someone from New South, they always bring him up as someone who's really important to them. So, Donnie, if you're seeing this, I do plan to get you on the show sometime soon if you're trying to come on. So, just want you to know that.
Brayden, as we start to wind down here, the one thing we like to ask everybody on this show is, what is the coolest thing in your room?
Coolest thing in my room. Well, let me see here. I don't really know. I have a lot of cool stuff. I have this cool action figure up there. I just got it from Carmen. I got a cool
let's see
figure.
it.
That's probably the coolest thing I have.
Can you show us?
Bret Hart autograph picture. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Nah, this is cool. I think this is the coolest thing.
Yes, cool. That's awesome. I need to get me one of those.
And then I think that definitely the next best thing is probably this Viscera autograph I have. It says to Brayden.
My God.
I think that's probably like the second coolest thing I have.
That's dope. Have you wrestled? Cool?
Yeah. A small story real fast. Viscera and my dad were like.
Oh, sorry. I think it lagged for a second. Sorry about that, Brayden. What were you saying about Viscera?
Yeah. Yeah. So so Viscera and my dad were like kind of close friends before he passed away. So like my dad would like bring him into his promotion sometimes, and they would wrestle. And then I got that picture from him, and he signed it to me. So that's probably like the coolest thing I have.
That's very cool. And I was also asking because he got that Cruel action figure. Have you wrestled him before? I can't remember.
No, I have not, unfortunately. Hopefully one day. I definitely feel like I need that match because like I watched him, from Alabama all the way, across the state. So I feel like I definitely need that match. I feel like I keep circling around him as well. Like I was in the match with him and Hunter at the fundraiser show. So I feel like I've been circling around him like my whole career. So like I definitely need that one-on-one for sure.
It could happen sooner than later. IWTV champion versus New South champion. I could see it potentially happening. And I think he's back in MLW now, which is pretty cool because I think his kind of initial run in MLW, it wasn't his fault, but like his initial run they made him this like kind of like Frankenstein monster type character. And like I knew him as Logan Creed, and I was like, this guy's like way better than what they're doing with him on TV. But now that he's been brought back, I feel like they're actually like kind of using him to his potential. And then he had that action figure come out, which is incredible. So is that one of your goals in wrestling, is to like have an action figure one day? Because I think that'd be like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that's like the main goal. Have an action figure, because I collect a lot of action figures. Like I definitely need the action figure in my collection. You know, with all the belts on me. You know, that's the end goal for me.
I love it.
Always a good goal to have, Brayden. We appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yeah, thank you. Twitter or X is Toon_Brayden. Instagram is Toon. TOON_1223, and Facebook is just Brayden Toon.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thank you very much for coming on, Brayden. We appreciate it, man. You've been someone who I've really wanted to talk to you for a little while now, and the timing was just perfect. You becoming the new South champion this month, and it was like, dude, this is the time. The time is perfect, and like I feel like it's just nothing but, you know, good things coming for you in the future, man. I think you're unique in the space. I think you bring a really diverse moveset, a different type of look. I think a different type of energy. I think you're killing it everywhere you're at, man. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's all, you know, next for your future. But I've been following along, and I hope to see you more in like JCW and GCW as well. I think, you know, the more eyes you get on you, the better. So congratulations on the success in your young career, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means the world to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Brayden. Again, we appreciate you joining us here tonight. Guys, all the links are below in the description. You can check out and support all the work Brayden is doing. He's got a big match this weekend against Adam Priest. Check that out. If you see Cole Radrick, give him a hug from us. You know, let him know we said hi. Give him a big old hug. Same with Carmen. Same with Mose. And we have been fortunate enough to cultivate a lot of good relationships on this show. So it's always fun when a lot of our friends and peers kind of get to work together. So again, we appreciate it, Brayden. Guys, check out the links below. Guys, we'll be right back here on the spot. We're back. Big thank you to Brayden Toon for joining us in the Creator Spotlight. Everyone go check out his match where he won the New South Championship. That is up on IWTV right now, everyone. His match against Adam Priest will air on IWTV as well. We appreciate everybody tuning in today with us. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the conversation. Stephen Jensen tried to wildly speculate that MJF was going to show up at WrestleMania. I just got a message from Jensen. I hope he's okay. Okay. He just said, someone just sent me a YouTube clip from Conan and Disco's show, and they had the same exact take about MJF helping Cody at Mania. I take it all back. There you go. If you're on the same page as those two, probably not doing the thing right there, are you, Jensen? Amazing. I hope people know that Jensen was just throwing stuff out there and he doesn't actually believe that's going to happen. Hopefully he made that very clear. But it made for a fascinating conversation. I usually don't get to yell at Jensen too often. I get to troll him more than anything. But that was a wild one. That was a wild one on that one. Guys, we appreciate it. We'll be back next week. Big episode next week, as it's the final spotlight episode, hopefully for Stephen Jensen. Not all time. That was a bad setup. Let's rewind and try that again. Hopefully for Jensen, it is the final spotlight episode in a world where Cody Rhodes is not WWE champion. That is next week, hopefully, but maybe not. We're scheduled to be joined by Teal Rhodes next week. That'll be very fun. I will cowardly back down from all of my trolling and praise Cody Rhodes, as Jensen most likely tries to get me into trouble. It'll be a very fun episode next week, as the countdown to WrestleMania is on. Big week next week. It's WrestleMania week. Plenty to talk about. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We will talk to y'all next week. Everyone, check out everything we got going on Fightful.com. Check out everything we got going on FightfulOverbooked.com. Corey's dropping more interviews. Today, a new interview went up. Our interview with Chris Masters is going up as a solo as well. We have a new episode of In the Weeds tomorrow. That's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern on Fightful Overbook, coexisting with Rob and Maggie, who is always in the chat with us. That is at 3 p.m. Eastern on Fridays. We have Wrestling Made Me Cry Sundays at noon Eastern with Kylie and Auntie Collins. We have Wrestling Movie Club with Gisberto and Rob Wilkins. What else do we have over there? We got a bunch of stuff. FMC. We didn't have an episode this past week. Had other things to do, but FMC, where we don't talk any wrestling, myself and SP3, plenty of fun stuff. Indeed, can't forget about Indeed. Indeed, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern with Mike and Reg. They always got great guests from the world of independent wrestling. Everyone go check all that stuff out. We appreciate y'all. We will talk to y'all later on. Bye, everybody.